The Grand Preceptor, who held power over the entire nation, never expected that just as he was about to enjoy unimaginable glory and wealth, two cultivators would suddenly appear, completely disregarding the lives of the mortals beneath them. They began to battle above the capital. The fierce clash, like a divine punishment descending upon the world, destroyed the entire imperial city in an instant. Li Fan's 3,000 concubines and children were all buried in the rubble. But Li Fan felt not a shred of grief. On the contrary, he couldn't help but laugh inwardly. Ever since the day he took power, he had secretly dispatched 10,000 iron cavalry to search for traces of immortals, but they had scoured the frozen seas of the far north and the deep oceans of the far south. From the great abyss of the far east to the mountain ranges of the far west, they still found no sign of any immortals. Now witnessing the existence of cultivators with his own eyes, Li Fan immediately formed a hand seal. He summoned his life-bound treasure of samsara, sending him back to a previously established point in time. Immediately after the Grand Preceptor's residence in Xuanjing, the capital of the great Xuan nation appeared right before his eyes. Pure water was gently poured into a cup as female servants spoke respectfully. "Grand Preceptor, please drink." Everyone in unison wished the Grand Preceptor a long life on his 50th birthday. In these years, Li Fan had gone from being a nobody to the Grand Preceptor with power that overshadowed the nation. The story within that is enough to be written into a multi-million-word epic novel. Thinking back when Li Fan first transmigrated to this world, he was nothing more than a poor scholar. He sighed to himself, what more could one ask for in a life like this? The dancers in the hall were moving their graceful bodies in elegant dances. Suddenly, someone ran in flustered. Grand Preceptor falling fire from the heavens, an auspicious sign from the heavens. The auspicious sign seems to be flying towards our residence. Li Fan stepped outside and looked up at the sky in confusion. This is Dao Xuanzi, don't you push me too far. Looking up at the sky, everyone began to murmur, cultivators. It's an auspicious sign. The immortal masters have revealed themselves. He began to fall into a state of panic. How can this be? Dao Xuanzi's voice rang out. Ko Hong, did you think that by running to the spirit-forsaken land, I would spare you hand over the cultivation technique you obtained that day? Otherwise, this will be a fight to the death. Ko Hong replied, ridiculous. It is precisely because I lack a core formation technique that I have been trapped at the foundation establishment stage for nearly 100 years. My end is near. I'm about to turn into a pile of dry bones. Now that I've finally obtained a core formation technique, how could I possibly hand it over to someone else? He retorted, that's right, the great Tao of the Golden Core. It's either me or him. Although there are many core formation techniques in this world, there are far more cultivators trapped at the foundation establishment stage. So when faced with this path to eternal life, how could I possibly spare you? Hearing this, the other man burst out laughing. Ridiculous. We were brothers for 100 years, and now we turn our blades on each other for a sliver of hope. I know I am not your match. It seems I won't escape my fate today, but there are so many mortals here. I wonder if you can block the full force of this kind of immortal mortal backlash. Just then, Dao Xuanzi drew his sword. Ko Hong. His voice became sharp. What are you trying to do? Ko Hong replied, if you can't block the immortal mortal backlash, perhaps I can find a sliver of a chance to survive. Immediately, two colossal forces collided, shaking space itself. Then the entire space began to be consumed by a sea of fire. Li Fan and the people below couldn't help but look up in terror. A sense of unease rose in his heart. This is bad. Finally, rubble and debris rained down on Li Fan. He coughed continuously, his weak voice calling out, my wife, my children. In that moment, Li Fan stood blinking at the scene of destruction, lost in thought. The bustling, prosperous Xuanjing city had become a hell of blood and fire before his very eyes. All he could see were mangled bodies and ruined buildings. After this calamity, there probably weren't many survivors left, and all of this was because two cultivators had suddenly descended. Abruptly, his lips began to twitch. Then Li Fan started laughing like a madman. How can there be cultivators in this world? From the moment he became an official, Li Fan had used the power in his hands to search for any possible sign of the immortal path. After he became the imperial tutor revered by tens of thousands, he searched even more fanatically across the entire nation. North to the frozen seas, south to the great oceans, east to the void abyss, and west to the endless mountains. His mind filled with anguish. There wasn't a single trace of an immortal's existence in the entire great Zhuan nation. I had clearly given up. I had clearly grown old. Are those two really immortals? Where did they come from? Suddenly his expression darkened. The heavens are truly mocking me. What is real can be false, and what is false can be real. Energy replenishment complete. Virtualize the current scene and return to the starting point. Huan Jin. That's the name I gave this unique treasure of mine. Its function is to turn reality into falsehood, to turn the real into the illusory. It takes what I've truly experienced and turns it into a virtual experience. This allows me to return to a preset point, which also means back to when I first transmigrated to this world. In fact, this was already the second life Li Fan had lived since transmigrating to this great Xuan nation. In his first life, although he had great ambitions, he was just an ordinary person. He wanted to pass the imperial examinations, but failed multiple times. After turning 30, he finally gave up the idea of becoming an official. He went into small business, became a wealthy commoner, and then married, had children, and lived out an ordinary life. It was only when he was old and on his deathbed that he awakened the unique treasure, Huan Zhen, which allowed him to rise like the wind in his second life. Because after the Huan Zhen system replenished its energy, it could allow Li Fan to restart his life. He could return to the starting point and do it all over again, but for now he couldn't restart it just yet because the Li Fan of this lifetime. There are still important matters to attend to. He commanded, relay my order. Order the Beast Guard garrison stationed outside the city to come to Zhuanjing City at once to maintain order after the disaster. Yes, sir, the subordinate replied. With most of Zhuanjing's architecture destroyed once Li Fan's trusted men, the Beast Guard garrison take over. Not only can they quickly oversee the post-disaster reconstruction, but more importantly, he can direct the work from behind the scenes within the military camp while secretly sending people to investigate the whereabouts of the two cultivators. A month later, the ruined Zhuanjing city had only just regained a bit of life. Several months later, the ruined Zhuanjing city had only just regained a glimmer of life when a subordinate entered to report Grand Preceptor. There's still no news of those two cultivators. Li Fan thought to himself, I shouldn't have expected anything from this in the first place. If that's the case, then I have nothing left to cling to in this life. Returning to truth possesses the void transformation realm. Am I back to square one now? In a space brimming with vitality, a resolute voice resounded. Dao Xuanzi Ko Hong. In 55 years, I'll still be in this Zhuanjing city waiting for you all. Returning to truth. Start a new life. Returning to year one. It has been determined. Wealth and status are but passing clouds to me. In the next life, I want to hunt for a system. You return. Anchor point. Year 1. You are ecstatic and commit several strange acts. You were almost doused with exorcism water by your aunt. She had gotten it from the village shaman. Half a year later, you participate in the provincial examination. Although you rank somewhere in the low 30s, you still manage to pass and become a jurin, bringing honor to your ancestors. Anchor point. Year 2. You pass the metropolitan examination and also perform brilliantly in the palace examination, placing in the second rank and being conferred the status of Jinshi. In Xuanjing City, you build connections everywhere and secure the position of county magistrate for Wen County in Jiangnan. Anchor point year 3. You begin cultivating trusted followers. You successfully create gunpowder and divine fire guns. Anchor point year 5. Displaced peoples gather and rebel, besieging the king of Langya. You lead troops to rescue the king of Langya's entire family. The king of Langya is immensely grateful to you. Anchor point, year 6. You are promoted to prefect of Jianghuai Prefecture and also marry the daughter of the vice minister of rights. Anchor point, year 7. Your wife gives birth to a son. Anchor point, year 15. The consort of Langya gives birth to a child. You personally visit to offer congratulations and present a gift you had prepared. Anchor point, year 15. The emperor passes away. The king of Lanya ascends the throne, changing the reign title to Xuanjing. Emperor Xuanjing summons you to the capital, promotes you to Vice Minister of War, and orders you to lead troops to quell a rebellion. Anchor point. Year 18. You wipe out the rebel forces. Emperor Xuanjing reclaims your military authority and promotes you to Minister of War and Grand Preceptor to the Crown Prince. Anchor point. Year 25. The Empress is suddenly implicated in a witchcraft case. The enraged Emperor Xuanjing sends her to the Cold Palace. The Crown Prince secretly seeks your help, and you agree without hesitation. Through inquiries, eliminations, and investigations, you find the person who framed the Empress. The Empress's name is cleared, but Emperor Xuanjing does not release her from the Cold Palace. Anchor point. Year 25. You secretly receive information that someone has reported something. You secretly visit the Empress in the Cold Palace. At the end of the year, Emperor Xuanjing is assassinated on his way back to the capital. The court officials invite the Empress out from the Cold Palace. Afterward, the Crown Prince ascends the throne with the reign title Kangning. Anchor point. Year 26. You are in fifth as Grand Preceptor, leading the two chief Grand Secretaries, reaching the pinnacle of power for a subject. Using this opportunity, you unite your allies. You punish dissenters and build your own power base within the royal court. Anchor point. Year 35. The people of the realm only know of the Grand Preceptor, not the Emperor. Anchor point. Year 31. The Empress Dowager becomes pregnant. She gives birth to a son for you. Anchor point. Year 38. Emperor Kangning passes away in sorrow. Anchor point. Year 40. The Empress Dowager passes away from illness. Anchor point. Year 45. Your wife passes away. Anchor point. Year 46. Your eldest son passes away from illness. Anchor point. Year 52. The Immortal from the Eastern Void Abyss arrives and destroys Xuanjing City. You luckily escape with your life. This simulation has ended. You may select one of the entries below. Proceed to save. Li Fam was bewildered. Did reality turn into an illusion, or was it all just a simulation that was so real it created a hallucination? Or perhaps after reaching a certain point, the line between fake and real ceases to exist. Forget it. I'd better look at these four options first. There's nothing to say about the first and second ones. If I were to walk the path of cultivation, these two choices would be incredibly useful. A pity that in my past life I was just a mortal. The system displayed, simulate the memories of a character who was closely related to you in this simulation. These memories can be inherited by that character. He made his decision. As for this third option, no one knows what this person will become after gaining 15 years of memories. Therefore, it's best to play it safe. In that case, only the fourth option remains. Returning to truths, turn reality into illusion needs to recharge. When I suffer a fatal blow, returning to truth will consume its recharge progress to automatically protect my body. This is also why I was able to survive near-death experiences several times in my past life. Therefore, this fourth option is the most stable choice. Accelerate the energy recharge progress. Basic information panel. Name Li Fam. He concluded 3 lives as a human 166 years. So, I've lived that long. On the other hand, the mental age limit behind it. I remember in my past life it was only 900 something, and now it has increased to over 1000. After enduring too many memories, the mind's capacity for endurance will reach a certain number. A burden too heavy will crush the soul. This is the torment of age. But the mental age limit will increase sharply as the mind's endurance capacity grows. Li Fam was resolute. As long as I step onto the path of cultivation, none of this will be a problem. The goal for this life is to learn the secret of cultivation from the mouths of these two cultivators. In 55 years, they will come to Xuanjing City. By preparing for the unprepared, I'm not without a chance of winning. Perhaps apart from guns and gunpowder, I can also rely on that immortal barrier he mentioned. I can't just wait for 55 years. He came from the Eastern Void Abyss. I can send people deep into the Void Abyss to investigate. The most frightening thing in life is to be without a goal. In his past life, Li Fam had often woken up in the middle of the night in the Empress Dowager's bed, feeling empty and adrift. In his past life, he had reached the pinnacle of the mortal world with nowhere higher to climb. This life was no different. Power, pleasure, After repeating it so many times, it all lost its flavor, perhaps after one of those reincarnations. Li Fan chose to end his own life, but then those two cultivators appeared. They showed him a completely new possibility. It was as if Li Fan saw a strange new world, a world full of temptation beckoning to him. Li Fan had to cultivate. He wanted eternal life, and no one could stop him. Xuan Daozi, Ko Hong. 55 years later, with the experience of 2 lifetimes, everything went incredibly smoothly. He still participated in the imperial examinations, but this time, with an additional 15 years of experience in power, the essays he wrote naturally far surpassed those of his past life. Provincial exams, metropolitan exams, palace exams. He took first place in all of them. A triple first that shook the world. Afterward, he still chose to take an official post in Wonju. Although many people didn't understand and thought it a waste, the court still approved Li Fan's request due to his immense reputation. Combined with his deep understanding of the temperaments of every official in the county, big and small, Li Fan quickly brought Wen County under his control and began to nurture his trusted subordinates from his past life. Year 4. Li Fan secretly found a man who could serve as a body double for the Langya King, simultaneously training him as a trusted subordinate. Year 5. He ordered his subordinate to pose as a refugee and storm the Langya King's manor. Li Fan pretended to come to the rescue, but in reality he was coordinating from the inside to slaughter the Langya King's entire family, having the body double take his place. From that day on, he secretly controlled the Langya King's estate. Year 9. The Langya King's wedding to the Grand Secretary's granddaughter proceeded as scheduled. Late that night, Li Fan burst into the bridal chamber and slept with the Langya princess consort. Year 15, the Langya princess consort gave birth to a son, his son of course. That same year, the emperor fell gravely ill. After obtaining the Edict of Succession, Li Fan led his trusted men and rushed to the capital. After the Langya King ascended the throne, he installed his confidants throughout the court. With the chief grand secretary secretly cooperating, he easily seized control of the political situation. Year 20. After placing his son on the throne, Li Fan appointed himself Grand Preceptor, stepping out from the shadows and into the light, once again wielding power over the entire empire. After that, the gears of the Great Xuan nation's development did not stop. On the contrary, they began to turn even faster, driven by his will. Year 35 at the Grand Preceptor's manor. He sighed, saying, "The mist over this void abyss, it dissipates for half a day every 15 years. Reporting Grand Preceptor. That is correct. Our Xianying camp was ordered to station ourselves by the void abyss, observing it day and night. A few days ago, we finally made some progress after the thick fog dissipated. There was light shining up from the bottom of the abyss. We used telescopes to observe and discovered reflections, although what each person saw was different. However, we could still make out 100,000 rolling mountains with magnificent structures hidden among them. There were majestic cities on the plains with bustling populations of no less than 1 million people. What's more, a halo of light surrounded the city, and all sorts of true birds and strange beasts flew within it. So it's true." Li Fan realized it was indeed from the void abyss. "Have you found a way to get to the bottom of the deep abyss?" He lowered his voice in apology. "Your subordinate is useless. We've tried every method, but as soon as we descend to a certain depth, we're torn to shreds by a sudden violent wind. That wind is terrifyingly sharp. Even our strongest armor can't hold up against it." Some time later, his silhouette was lonely under the moonlight as he let out a soft sigh. Suddenly, Li Fan spoke. "It seems I'll still have to wait for you all." Time passed. Year 50 of the Great Xuan Nation. "Xuanjing," Ko Hong cursed angrily. "Xuan Daozi, don't you go too far." Immediately sparks began to shoot up from the ground. He frowned, annoyed. "Who dares to ambush us?" The soldiers below fired their guns into the sky relentlessly. Ko Hong used his power to stop the bullets, and then, with his magic, he seized those modern weapons. He assessed them with interest, using intricate mechanical structures in place of spell formations, using the explosive power of objects in place of spiritual energy. To think that after several thousand years, the mortals exiled to this spirit-forsaken land could have developed such ingenious devices. A pity they're only effective in this land where the great Tao is flawed. Outside this spirit-forsaken land, they're nothing more than a pile of useless scrap metal. You mere mortals dare to attack us cultivators. I originally felt a sliver of guilt, but now it seems you're just looking to die." Suddenly, Ko Hong was stunned. Taoist, Art Fire Dragon's roar. Immediately, a giant dragon charged toward him. Right after that, a furious barrage erupted in the sky. The world around them began to sink into a sea of flames. Ko Hong's eyes widened in shock as he wondered, what is happening? My fire dragon's roar isn't something mortals should be able to block. Why are so many of them still alive? Zhuan Daozi reminded him, these hidden weapons were soaked in mortal blood. After you were afflicted by the mortal-immortal barrier, your Taoist arts have been weakened. We just arrived in this place and were immediately ambushed, and the enemy even used the mortal-immortal barrier. They were obviously prepared for us. This place is strange. We shouldn't linger. Ko Hong listened. Let's go. From below, Li Fan suddenly shouted, Zhuan Daozi Ko Hong, if you too manage to escape today, then by tomorrow news that you possess a core formation technique will have spread throughout the entire cultivation world. He was bewildered. How can that be? Only the two of us know about the core formation technique. How did the information get out? He grew uneasy. Who could it be? At that moment, more bullets shot up into the sky. Ko Hong furiously unleashed a fiery counterattack. You're asking for death. Xuandaozi shouted in alarm. This is bad, Ko Hong, get out of the way. Then the entire space was filled with red smoke bombs, and the sky became a horrifying web of red threads. Immediately, both of them were quickly pulled down. Someone spoke up, addressing them. You two esteemed masters, we are under orders. If you surrender without a fight, we can spare your lives. Zhuanzai slowly began to speak. I surrender. Suddenly, a ring radiating spiritual energy appeared before him. Ko Hong said weakly, take my storage ring, and go. Then he shut his eyes tightly, his body completely drained of strength. In the gloomy sky above, a great dragon appeared roaring endlessly in fury. Foundation Establishment cultivator Ko Hong, who has cultivated for 305 years, used the Horned Dragon Branch artifact to form his Tao Foundation. In the forsaken immortal land, he was besieged by several thousand mortals and was unfortunately wounded by the immortal mortal barrier. His cultivation base was lost his lifespan at its end. Now his body perishes and his Tao returns to the heavens. Someone spoke up, esteemed Master Dao Xuanzi. We have no intention of fighting you to the death. We will let you live if you give up resistance. We masters guarantee your safety. Li Fan, watching from afar, was lost in thought as Ko Hong died. He thought he heard a strange sound from the sky. But what that sound was no longer mattered, because in this life, his hope of hunting immortals was gone. He never expected the damage from the immortal mortal barrier against a cultivator would be so devastating. Dao Xuanzi stood up and replied, I don't know who you are, nor what your purpose is. Today, you trapped my brother and me, and he has perished. There's nothing left to say. His eyes turned fierce, but I refuse to accept this hiding behind mortals, and even using the immortal mortal barrier, a despicable tool that all cultivators find utterly shameless. For my brother Ko Hong to die at the hands of someone like you, I consider it an unworthy death for him. You have all seen my brother's Foundation Establishment artifact. Now I invite you all to witness mine. With the heaven and earth divination bamboo, I established my Tao Foundation. My Tao is known as Zhuan. I have one sword strike. I invite you all to witness it. Light from the terrifying power he unleashed filled the entire space. Li Fan spoke softly. This true simulation is now over. So this is a cultivator at the peak of Foundation Establishment. Without the immortal mortal barrier, even if I reincarnated 100 times and plotted endlessly, I still wouldn't be enough to pose a threat to them. I can't believe this barrier directly caused Ko Hong to perish. I thought their talk of being brothers for 100 years was just casual words, but I never expected their bond to be so strong. When they were attacked, Dao Xuanzi would shout to warn Ko Hong. Knowing he couldn't escape death, Ko Hong proactively gave his core formation technique to Dao Xuanzi. And when Dao Xuanzi saw Ko Hong killed by a sneak attack, shouting, Ko Hong, look out! His heart filled with unbearable grief, he abandoned his own survival to use a final sword strike, intending to take everyone down with him. All of this proves that the bond between them was truly beyond that of ordinary friends. That's right. On the great Tao of the Golden Core, there can be only one. Although there are many core formation methods in this world, far more cultivators are trapped at the foundation establishment stage. On the great Tao of the Golden Core, there can be only one. An immortal technique cannot be cultivated by two. Even close brothers are no exception. What must the world of cultivation outside be like? No matter how dangerous the path ahead is, I will not waver, especially with the true simulation to help me. As long as I'm careful enough, no predicament can stop me. Last time I chose to attack both of them simultaneously. Perhaps this time I can try to win one of them over. The mental age limit only increased by 15 this time. It seems I'm approaching the maximum. Including my life before transmigration, this is already my 5th lifetime. The path to immortality is so difficult. I hope these 55 years won't be wasted. Anchor point, year 35. Endless abyss. From the previous simulation, he knew that the dense fog of bones above the abyss disperses once every 15 years. Today, Li Fan came to the abyss to see it for himself. After some time, a massive amount of white bones was forced out from within the abyss, erupting like a reverse waterfall, shooting straight into the sky. This great gale lasted for over an hour before the bone fog finally dissipated. He took out a telescope and peered into the depths of the abyss. According to his intelligence, the scene at the bottom appears different to each observer. He saw a dark space with only a tiny speck of light. Carved on a cliff face were 4 words. "The immortal path is dead." Li Fan was startled. The immortal path is dead. What in the world happened in this place? What happened to the entire world of cultivation? Anchor point, year 50, Xuanjing City. Ko Hong was angrily cursing. "Dao Xuanzi, don't you push me too far." Just then, someone shouted, "Ko Hong, you brat! We are acting on the esteemed master's orders." Dao Xuanzi has been waiting here for a long time. He was bewildered. How is this possible? Don't tell me Dao Xuanzi knew I would flee to this place. The immortal mortal barrier was used on Ko Hong. He cursed indignantly. "Dao Xuanzi, you're despicable." Dao Xuanzi himself was genuinely confused. Who are these mortals? Why are they attacking Ko Hong in my name? And using the immortal mortal barrier no less. Something is very strange here. Ko Hong, I did not order these mortals. Whoa, and a voice called up from below. "Esteemed Master Dao Xuanzi, why are you going back on your word now? Didn't you say that as long as we helped you kill this Ko Hong here and seize his core formation technique, you would lead our clan out of this forsaken immortal land?" Those words enraged Ko Hong even more. "And you still say it wasn't you, besides the 2 of us, who else in this world knows about the core formation technique?" Dao Xuanzi panicked internally. This person, he actually knows about the core formation technique. That person continued, "You must know, because of this immortal mortal barrier you told us about, we've stirred up a hornet's nest. The people of the world are boiling with resentment. If you esteemed master cannot keep your promise to lead us out, I fear it won't be long before my entire clan is buried in this place." Dao Xuan's eye suddenly shot downwards. "Found you! You shameless villain, shut your mouth!" He then unleashed an attack that swept across the ground. The mortal retorted, "Are you trying to silence us by killing us now, esteemed master?" He gritted his teeth. "What is this magical artifact? This guy is so cautious." Suddenly, a terrifying object fell to the ground. He angrily rebuked Dao Xuanzi. "We've known each other for 100 years, and to think I was so wrong about you. Don't you want the core formation technique? Why resort to such despicable methods? I'm not running anymore. If you've got the guts, just come and take it." With the Raging Flame Dragon technique, he instantly unleashed his attack, turning the entire space into a sea of fire. Dao Xuanzi sighed wearily at the scene. He drew his sword and countered Ko Hong. The spiritual energies of the 2 immortals clashed head-on. A mysterious voice echoed, "The man Dao Xuanzi has turned on us. He is unpredictable and will surely seek revenge. If he wins, we're all dead. My sons, listen up. Help Master Ko Hong deal with Dao Xuanzi." Ko Hong cut in. "They say what goes around comes around. Dao Xuanzi, I never imagined that you, who always acted so righteous, would be such a backstabbing hypocrite." Unable to contain his rage, Dao Xuanzi cursed, "You fool!" He seethed. Fine, be mad. You think you're so clever, yet everyone has turned against you. Is that what you call smart? Instead, you've been outsmarted by your own cleverness. I've recently mastered a new technique just in time to send you on your way. Dragon binding technique. In that moment, he was trapped inside a cage of fire. A corrupted Dao Xuanzi used his skill, shouting, "Break!" Their battle was so violent, it seemed to tear the sky apart. He focused his spirit and roared, "Dao Xuan!" Instantly, Dao Xuanzi's sword expanded to a colossal size. The man below remained perfectly calm. Let's see which is more powerful, your Dao Xuan or my coiling dragon branch. Dragon transformation technique. The power of the dragon rider and the sword. God clashed. The people on the ground called out, "Master Ko Hong, let us help you." An explosion of red smoke swept through the space. A branch pierced straight through his body. It's over for him. The coiling dragon branch then began to tighten around Dao Xuanzi's body. Its magical vines finally stained red. Foundation Establishment cultivator Dao Xuanzi Immortal, who had cultivated the Dao for 201 years. Wielding the wondrous Dao Xuan sword, he achieved his foundation in this forsaken land, only to die in a desperate battle at the hands of the Foundation Establishment cultivator Ko Hong. Now his body has perished, his Dao scattered, returning to the heavens. Li Fan sensed it. It was that sound again. This sound had also appeared before when Ko Hong was in control. Stroking his beard, the man behind him spoke. "This old one, Li Fan, pays his respects, Immortal Master. I beg you, Immortal Master, have mercy and save the lives of the 1,000+ members of my clan." Ko Hong retorted, that voice that echoed everywhere before. "That was you, wasn't it? A mere mortal like you, daring to interfere in a battle between cultivators like us." Li Fan replied, "I was simply trying to find a glimmer of hope for survival, that is all. As I said before, if you had been defeated, Immortal Master, my people would certainly not have escaped death." Ko Hong sighed. A glimmer of hope for survival, huh? In these troubled times, who isn't struggling for that same small chance? Struggling indeed, Li Fan asked curiously. "Previously, Master Dao Xuanzi promised me that if," Ko Hong replied with his eyes closed. "For the last 100 years, Dao Xuanzi always acted as if his word was law in front of others. But when push came to shove, he had no limits, even stooping to deceive a mortal. That immortal forsaking array is incredibly dangerous. Even for us cultivators, leaving would take a massive effort. How could he possibly have led mortals out of here?" Li Fan was shocked. "What, you mean none of you know how to leave this place?" "That's right," he replied. Li Fan suggested, "This is not the place to talk. Immortal Master, please follow me." At the underground refugee station, Li Fan spoke up. "Immortal Master, about what you said before. About it being impossible to lead mortals out of this forsaken land. Is that true?" Ko Hong stated, "You're just a mortal. Why would I lie to you? Maybe a golden core cultivator could shield a mortal through that immortal forsaking array. But with just a Foundation Establishment cultivation base, it's completely impossible." He was stunned. "Does that mean we mortals have no hope of ever leaving this place?" He explained, "If you want to leave this forsaken land, you have to get through the immortal forsaking array. A mortal body has zero chance of passing through it. Besides, you're already an old man. Why are you so obsessed with leaving this place? Isn't being a common emperor good enough for you?" Li Fan asked curiously. "What if my descendants could cultivate to the Foundation Establishment stage just like you, Immortal Master? Wouldn't they be able to leave then?" Suddenly, Ko Hong burst out laughing. "Forget the fact that this place has absolutely no spiritual energy. It's fundamentally impossible to cultivate here. Besides that, there's the permanent divide between immortals and mortals. Every mortal here is contaminated with miasma. So, how could you possibly cultivate? I advise you to give up. If you mortals wish to cultivate, your only path is to reach the outside world, rebuild your bodies, and wash away this miasma. Otherwise, even if the path to true immortality was right in front of you, you could only look but never touch." Li Fan's body began to tremble in fear. An eternal separation between immortals and mortals. "So this is what you meant. There really is no other way then." "There really isn't," Ko Hong assured him. He turned to leave. "If you have no other instructions, Immortal Master, this old man will be on his way." Seeing this, Ko Hong was stunned. He became speechless with rage. The immortal mortal barrier, you... In the end, only Ko Hong's frantic screams echoed within the room. Li Fan thought, if immortals and mortals can't exist under the same sky, then how could a mortal like me ever fully trust a word you say? According to Ko Hong, this place is the Forsaken Land. It all started with a great cataclysm in the ancient world of cultivators thousands of years ago. At first, no cultivator paid any mind to the plague ravaging the mortal world, not until the first cultivator was infected. The plague grew stronger and began to spread among the cultivators. The main path of infection was spiritual energy, the very thing cultivators relied on for survival. Through the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the plague quickly spread throughout the cultivation world. Cultivators who were infected with this plague. For mild cases, their cultivation regressed and their realm dropped. For severe cases, they would lose all of their cultivation overnight, becoming immortal. Soon after, their body would perish, and their Tao would vanish, returning to the heavens. As the cultivators fell into despair, they vented their frustrations on the source of the problem, the mortals. Thus, a large-scale massacre began, but it wasn't long before this slaughter was forcibly brought to an end. And so, the plague did not disappear with the death of the mortals. On the contrary, it was as if it had been unshackled, spreading with the spiritual energy across the heavens and earth, causing even more cultivators to die. However, cultivators would not simply sit and wait for death. That was not their way. On one hand, they began to research ways to treat and resist this plague. On the other hand, they proposed a plan that would become infamous for 1,000 years, the Great Migration Plan. They moved all the mortals in the cultivation world to smaller worlds devoid of spiritual energy. Then they used a formation to seal them away permanently, never to return. Originally, the cultivation world had no mortals, but not all descendants of cultivators are born with the aptitude for cultivation. Thus, over time, the world once again gave birth to countless mortals. Within the bodies of these mortals, all contained the shadow of that very plague. And because this plague was especially harmful to cultivators, any mortal in later generations who wished to cultivate first had to cleanse the plague from their body using the mortal barrier. Much later, this plague became the symbol that distinguished immortals from mortals, so people called it the Immortal Mortal Plague. To prevent the Immortal Mortal Plague from continuing to appear, the immortal world made a pact to try not to go to places where mortals had once set foot. Over time, these places came to be known as the Immortal Forsaken Lands. After reading the documents, Li Fan fell into thought. The Immortal Forsaken Lands. Very few cultivators dared to venture into such places. To have met two of them was already a stroke of luck. As a mortal, his lifespan was limited. Even if he could endlessly simulate reincarnation, it would only be a repetition within the limits of his lifespan. This year, he was already 70 years old. His maximum biological lifespan was 86. In the remaining 16 years, the probability of meeting another cultivator was practically zero. A sense of melancholy welled up in Li Fan's heart. Was he really destined to live forever as a mortal, waiting so miserably? How could he be resigned to that? Is there really no other way? Suddenly, as if realizing something, Li Fan exclaimed, "That's not right." He leaned on his cane and walked to a dark room, asking the person before him, how did the mortals from the Great Migration back then get to this immortal forsaken land? Ko Hong knelt on the ground, covered in wounds, his limbs chained. Why haven't you given up yet? Even if you get out, what can you do? You're 70 years old and you still want to cultivate. He leaned closer to him. You've lost all your cultivation now. If you return to the cultivation world, could you continue to cultivate? Ko Hong looked up in surprise. What? He stared at him. If you help me find a way to the cultivation world, perhaps I'll take you with me when the time comes. He angrily shouted in Li Fan's face, "You treacherous villain! You're still trying to trick me!" Li Fan remained calm. Whether it's the truth or a lie. It's a sliver of hope, isn't it? Do you want to give up this chance at life and just die of old age under this patch of dirt? Helpless against his persistence, Ko Hong let out a sigh. If I'm not mistaken, back when they moved the mortals, they must have used various magical artifacts like flying chariots, flying shuttles from ancient times. The number of cultivators was quite large, and the sects were prosperous. These kinds of transport artifacts were very common. It's a pity that after the Great Cataclysm, cultivators began to fend for themselves and act alone, so flying chariots and flying shuttles became rare. Li Fan was surprised by the information he revealed. The great cataclysm, mates, are you referring to that strange plague? He closed his eyes and raised his hands. Although the immortal mortal plague was bizarre, it wasn't enough to shake the foundation of the cultivators. The reason the immortal mortal plague could run rampant was because the vast majority of cultivators in the world all died in a great calamity. A past image flashed by. That's right. The great Tao of the Golden Core. It's either me or him. In this world, although there are many methods to form a core, there are far more cultivators stuck at the foundation establishment stage. On a high mountain, 4 large words were clearly carved. The immortal Tao is dead. He frowned. The great calamity of heaven and earth. Could it be that immortal arts cannot be cultivated together? Ku Hong closed his eyes. That's right. Immortal arts cannot be cultivated together. It is said that in ancient times the great cultivation sects opened their doors wide, accepting disciples and passing on their teachings. Back then, all cultivators had masters to guide them. If they encountered difficulties in their practice, they could ask for advice at any time. They could also discuss the Tao and spar with their fellow disciples of the same school. The entire cultivation world was brimming with vitality, a truly magnificent sight. Until one day the efficiency of cultivators' cultivation techniques suddenly plummeted. While cultivating, they could also sense how many people throughout the cultivation world were practicing the same techniques as them. They discovered that the more people cultivated the same technique, the lower the efficiency of that technique would become. Countless cultivators' cultivation stagnated. As their lifespans neared their end, inner demons arose and killing intent surged. Masters, disciples, brothers, and sisters who were once close became mortal enemies in the blink of an eye. After that, a great calamity began to sweep through the cultivation world. As long as you cultivated the same technique, you were obstructing my path on the Tao. It was a fight to the death. Even the rogue cultivators hiding in secret realms and mountain valleys couldn't escape because those who practiced the same technique could sense each other's location. Li Fan stood up straight at this point. If immortal arts cannot be cultivated together, then how do cultivators practice now? What is the cultivation world like today? Ku Hong sighed again. In the cultivation world today, if you want to cultivate, there are only a few options. One is to join the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. The 10,000 Immortals Alliance is a loose coalition formed by countless cultivators. You can use contribution points to exchange for cultivation techniques and resources. Within the alliance, you can accumulate contribution points by completing missions or trading with others. 2 is the 5 Elders Society, an organization founded by the 5 most powerful cultivators. Their influence is immense. As long as you have the aptitude for cultivation, you can voluntarily join and choose a cultivation technique. The price is signing a soul contract to serve the 5 elders for a certain period of time. He stroked his beard full of doubt. Listening to you, it seems like cultivation techniques aren't that rare in the cultivation world. The young man gave a wry smile and snorted. That's because the techniques you can obtain this way are all incomplete. These techniques were all recompiled by the major powers in recent years, cultivating them to the great perfection of Qi. Refining is the absolute limit. It covers the 3 levels of Qi, Refining Foundation Establishment, and Golden Core. To take another step and build a Tao foundation, and you have to switch to a higher level technique. It's the same for Foundation Establishment. He wondered to himself, switch techniques. If you have to abandon your old technique and start over with every breakthrough, wouldn't all your previous efforts go down the drain and be for nothing? The young man quickly explained, not exactly. All cultivators must practice the incomplete supreme primordial origin true scripture. This scripture isn't a cultivation technique, but a special secret art. Its purpose is to help cultivators disperse their own cultivation realm without suffering too great a loss. After dispersing their cultivation and recultivating with a different technique, they can quickly catch up to their previous realm. Li Fan marveled, what a miraculous art. It's just an incomplete scripture appearing at just the right time, only in this way. And could all the cultivators in the world be made to accept constantly changing their techniques? Ku Hong looked up and sighed. But what's the use? A true technique is just too hard to find. Taoist Xuanzi, until his death, didn't know that the person who stole his technique and fled did so not just because it was a core formation technique, but because it was a true technique that could lead to the nascent soul realm. Li Fan looked at his own hands in astonishment. A nascent soul true technique. After that, Ko Hong explained some common knowledge about the cultivation world to him. When a cultivator dies, it will trigger a celestial phenomenon within a certain range. Finally returning to the main topic, the young man had also become more relaxed talking to him. I once heard a rumor that over the past 1,000 years there have been mortals from the severed immortal land who secretly returned to the cultivation world, but most of these are baseless rumors. There's no concrete evidence. Despite that, he remained firm. There's no smoke without fire. Sometimes rumors are the truth. As long as there's a glimmer of hope, I will not give up. Ko Hong raised an eyebrow, confused, and muttered to himself, I don't understand an old man. Like you on the verge of death. How do you still have the strength to struggle like this? Li Fan pulled out a chair and sat down. As long as you help me find a way to the cultivation world, not only will I spare you, but I'll also take you with me along with the technique and Taoist Xuanzi's artifact. I will return everything. He emphasized the last sentence, including that nascent soul true technique. Hearing this, the young man shouted excitedly, Is that true? Li Fan nodded. Of course. Getting his answer, the young man quickly agreed. All right, in that case, I will do everything in my power to help you. And so, with Ko Hong's help, he collected all the historical texts in the world. He focused his efforts on finding clues about the era of the Great Migration Plan from the scattered records in those ancient books. At the same time, he also dispatched soldiers to excavate ancient tombs everywhere, hoping to find some clues, even though it caused a surge of resentment among the people and officials submitted memorials daily to protest. But he forcefully suppressed it all. Unfortunately, the era of the Great Migration Plan was too distant, and his lifespan was too short. After 16 years, Li Fan struggled to walk. His time was almost up, but he still had nothing to show for it. His face was drenched in sweat. This body had grown extremely old and frail, like a candle flickering in the wind, ready to be extinguished at any moment. Before this life ends, I must check the items in this storage ring again. A book was taken out and floated in front of him. It was the Heavenly Secret Jade Huan Golden Scripture, a nascent soul realm technique. Number of cultivators 0, nascent soul realm. It's a pity I'm still a mortal without even a divine sense. I have a treasure but no way to use it. Taoist Zhuan sword, according to Ko Hong, after a cultivator dies. A Foundation establishment artifact will lose all its spiritual nature as its owner's body and Tao perish. Suddenly, something startled Li Fan. The system displayed a notification. Item can be charged. Proceed with charging. After hearing this, Li Fan didn't hesitate and immediately chose yes. The system received the information and began the charging process. He calculated silently based on the feedback from the Huan Zhen system. When the charging progress reaches 100%, it will unlock the second milestone. In the future, everything will be virtualized. When I choose to return, I can restart from any milestone. If I can really unlock the second milestone, that would be too convenient. Celestial artifacts may be rare, but the cultivation world is vast. There must be countless strange items. I just need to leave this severed immortal land and break free from these shackles. Other than a few commonly used spirit stones, there was nothing else of value in the storage ring. It's time to end this life. The Huanjin system appeared, presenting several options. 1. An item in your possession during this simulation. 2. Your own cultivation realm. 3. The simulated memories of someone you have a close relationship with. 4. Forgo the above choices to accelerate the energy replenishment progress. Li Fan Yung again chose to retain an item. Damn it, as expected items in the storage ring can't be retained. There's no other way. I can only choose this nascent soul technique. The system displayed Li Fan's personal data. Bound. This means this technique now exists permanently within the Huanzhen system. He smirked. In that case, I can plan for many more lifetimes to find a way back to the cultivation world. He had carried out a massive excavation of ancient tombs, an act that had shaken the world. Even with the power of the imperial court in his hands, countless objections would still arise if he acted so soon after the court had just stabilized. I fear it would be difficult to maintain for long, but if I start laying the groundwork now, in 25 years, it might not be impossible to change the minds of the people. The river of time flowed on. His sixth life began. Under his silent influence, the state of the world gradually underwent subtle changes. In the fifth designated year, the revivalist school of thought suddenly appeared. Carrying a few ancient books, they went to the capital to seek an audience with the emperor. These ancient books were so exquisitely rare, they sent shockwaves throughout the realm. The names of the ancient books were The Way of Changes, The Classic of Virtue, The Flower of the South, The Analects, and The Great Learning. In the sixth designated year, the emperor suddenly fell gravely ill and was bedridden. The imperial physicians were all helpless. Just then, the revivalist school presented an elixir pill. The dying emperor drank the elixir pill, and unexpectedly, it had a miraculous effect. Just a few days later, the emperor recovered as if he had never been ill. In the 11th designated year, the Jianghuai prefecture uncovered a major tomb robbery case. Over 100 people were arrested. The prefect of Jianghuai, Li Fan, did not dare to make a decision himself and wrote an urgent memorial sent 800 miles to the capital to await the emperor's decree. More than a month passed before the emperor's edict arrived. No executions, only demotion to slavery and transfer to the capital city. In the 15th designated year, the emperor fell gravely ill again. Longing for an elixir of immortality, he ordered the mobilization of over 100,000 troops to excavate tombs everywhere in search of traces of the immortal elixir. Unfortunately, there was no sign of it. The emperor passed away in regret, and the trend of tomb excavation spread throughout the land. Before his death, the emperor passed the throne to the Prince of Lanya, and thus he once again secretly held the realm in his hands. In the 23rd designated year, as a large number of ancient tombs were excavated, the history of the 7 dynasties was gradually restored. The earliest dynasty discovered was named the Kai dynasty. He offered a reward throughout the land. Whoever found an ancient tomb of the Kai dynasty would be enfuffed as a marquis and granted land. In the 25th designated year, the tomb of the founding emperor of the Kai dynasty, Yi Xing, was finally discovered. In just over a month, the main passage to the tomb was opened. When all obstacles were cleared, Li Fan led a group of people into the ancient tomb. The main tomb passage was hundreds of meters long, its walls covered with lifelike frescoes. Though 1,000 years had passed, they were still as clear as new. Upon reaching the main tomb chamber, the space was 40 to 50 meters high and thousands of meters long and wide. The vaulted ceiling was inlaid with countless night-luminescent pearls, creating a false starry sky. Mountain ranges rose and fell, partially hidden in a sea of clouds. It was unknown how these clouds were created. To remain fixed in the tomb, neither scattering nor dissipating for thousands of years. Between the mountains, there were interconnected paths, though they were not visible. The group that had made their way here were all in awe. Li Fan sighed in admiration, thinking, as expected, of the methods of immortals. At the highest peak, there was a simple thatched cottage. The fertile fields around it were overgrown and desolate. Only upon entering did they discover that the thatched roof was woven from countless strands of golden silk as fine as hair. Li Fan ordered, "You two open the door." The soldiers complied. "Yes, sir." He secretly surmised, evidently this thatched cottage is Yi Xing's coffin. The wooden door was pushed open by 2 soldiers. Light from the torches shone on the scene inside, which made Li Fan slightly astonished. The tomb of Yi Xing, an outer sect disciple of the Taiyan sect. Seeing this, he thought to himself, it seems this person once joined a sect called the Taiyan sect. But his entire life he was only an outer sect disciple and never stepped onto the path of immortality. In the end, he was exiled to this place by cultivators. Before his death, he still thought of his sect, not acknowledging himself as an emperor, but only as an outer sect disciple of the Taiyan sect. But according to Ko Hong, the sects should have been wiped out in the Great Calamity before the Great Migration. It seems there are many hidden secrets in this matter. Perhaps Yi Xing was the one entrusted by the Taiyan sect cultivators to be in charge of the Great Migration down here. I just don't know if this time Li Fan will be able to find the flying boat that was once used for the migration. After searching the entire main tomb without results, he ordered the revivalist camp to excavate the surrounding area. A few days later, a report came, reporting to the Grand Preceptor in the list of burial goods from a nearby tomb. A record of a flying boat was discovered, but this tomb was robbed long ago. Based on the signs of damage, the robbery happened 1,000 years ago. Li Fan, enraged, radiated a murderous aura. "It's like this again." He angrily swept the cabinet in front of him aside. "It's like this again. Every time I see a glimmer of hope, it's like a flower in a mirror or the moon in the water, unattainable." The study became a mess after Li Fan's outburst. He gave an order. "Announce to the realm whoever finds a clue related to the immortal boat will be made a marquis of 1,000 households." In the 35th designated year, Li Fan was shocked to discover an immortal's tomb. A subordinate reporting to the Grand Preceptor a few days ago, a group of people were excavating a small tomb when they were suddenly attacked by a strange power. They suffered heavy casualties. The revivalist camp immediately sent people to investigate, but even the most experienced veterans couldn't budge that tomb in the slightest. He immediately shot to his feet and ordered, "Bring the immortal mortal barrier breaker. Let's go open the tomb." Buckets of dark red water were poured onto the barrier. Immediately after, the surrounding barrier vanished into thin air. Li Fan directed, "Be careful while digging. If you find anything resembling a flying boat, report to me immediately." The soldiers shouted in unison, "Yes, sir." A moment later, someone came to report, "Reporting!" Grand Preceptor, an object resembling a flying boat has been found among the burial goods. Waiting for just this, Li Fan hurriedly ran over to inspect it. Suddenly, his face darkened and he was speechless. In front of him was a boat only about the size of a palm, a flying vessel. This small wooden boat before his eyes was the very flying vessel he had longed for. Through other information on the tomb wall of the final owner, Li Fan finally understood the whole story. It turned out the tomb's owner, named Qian Hong, was a Foundation establishment stage cultivator. 3,005 years ago, he was pursued by his enemies and with no way out, fled into this land forsaken by immortals. In this forsaken land, spiritual energy had completely vanished. He didn't have many spirit stones left on him either. Before long, his spirit stones ran out. With no spirit stones to replenish his energy, his cultivation's spiritual energy grew weaker and weaker. He guessed that when the mortals were exiled here 1,000 years ago, a few flying boats might have been left behind. So he spent over 15 years searching tirelessly. Finally, he discovered Yixing's tomb. Inside the tomb, there was indeed a flying boat. But what made him despair was that the core energy formation inside was damaged, and he didn't understand the art of artifact refinement, so he couldn't repair it. From then on, Qian Hong completely gave up on the idea of leaving this land forsaken by immortals. "If a future cultivator should enter my tomb, please return my remains to the world of cultivation. Everything in this tomb can be considered my token of gratitude." The final words of Qian Hong. After reading, Li Fan thought to himself, with a protective formation outside the tomb, it's not strange that he was certain the person who came would be a cultivator. First, let's see what he left behind. System notification, worldly treasure. Fragment of the Zebu stele. He's actually a worldly treasure. So this is the thing that's been guarding this tomb all this time. Unfortunately, the true completion art isn't reacting at all. I used up a lot of my celestial barrier energy to force my way into the tomb just now. This fragment of the Zebu stele must have been affected. It's turned into an ordinary stone tablet. 2. Let's check the second item then. In Li Fan's hands were the lesser true completion art and Cloudwater 6. Both showed that someone was cultivating them. His eyes widened at the sight. How could someone be cultivating them? Could it be a trap? No, that's not right. It's been over 3,000 years. Forget Foundation establishment, even a golden core cultivator would have turned to dust by now. So why do these techniques show that someone is cultivating them? Could it be that the techniques have an original stored copy? After the Great Calamity, many techniques were recompiled by the 5 elders of the Myriad Immortals Alliance and other major powers. So there must be an original copy stored by the leadership of those powers. If they see a technique no one is cultivating, they just pass it on to someone else. Perhaps over the past 3,000 years, these two techniques have passed through countless hands. What bad luck! The third item, the Taiyan Arc. After wandering the world for thousands of years, it's finally fallen into his hands. After so many years of waiting, his wish has finally been granted. The system panel appeared Taiyan Arc, a tool used by the Taiyan sect to move mortals. The formation array inside it has been damaged. He didn't mind. Even if the Taiyan Arc is broken, there's no need to worry. Qian Hong doesn't know how to fix it, and neither do I Li Fan. But someone does. Whoosh! Later an argument broke out in the sky. A burly man stomped his foot hard in the air. Dao Xuanzi, don't you push me too far. The person opposite him wasn't scared at all. Ko Hong, do you think hiding in this immortal forsaken land will make him let you go? Hand over the technique you got that day or else. You and I. Suddenly a voice cut through their argument. It's just a core formation technique. Is it really worth the two of you risking your lives? This startled Dao Xuanzi. Ko Hong beside him was just as bewildered. The two of them looked down together and shouted, "Who dares? How audacious! So arrogant!" It was Li Fan. He calmly raised his hand in invitation. "Why don't you two come down for a chat?" Raising a cup of wine, he laughed loudly. "Haha, please, when my ancestor Li Fan was on his deathbed, he once said, in the future, two people will come from the void abyss and set foot in the capital. This will be the opportunity for our clan to escape this place. For thousands of years, our clan has been half believing, half doubting. Today, it has been proven true. We must hold a grand feast." Ko Hong probed. "May I ask how I should address you, sir?" He introduced himself. "This old man's name is Li Fan." Dao Xuanzi was skeptical. "Listening to you, sir, your ancestor predicted our arrival 1,000 years ago. And what do you mean by an opportunity to escape this place?" Li Fan's expression changed in an instant, turning cold. A hint of killing intent emerged. "Don't the two of you believe me?" They suddenly froze. This was indeed too strange. In their 100 years in the cultivation world, they had never heard of any divination art that could predict events 1,000 years into the future. He stepped down and asked, "Have you two ever heard of the Taiyan sect?" They were shocked. Could it be the ancient sect famous for its divination arts? Andis. Li Fan relaxed and let out a long sigh, feigning a contemplative look. "That's right. My ancestor was a disciple of the Taiyan sect back in the day. Although my ancestor joined the Taiyan sect, he didn't like cultivating. Instead, he was obsessed with the art of divination and calculation. Originally, that was fine. Who would have thought the world would undergo a great change and mortals would have to be relocated? With my ancestor's early chi refining cultivation, even if he didn't want to go, no one would have forced him. But seeing his clansmen in a panic, my ancestor volunteered to take on the task of relocating the mortals. From then on, he and the clan stayed in this place." Dao Xuanzi was puzzled. "So that's how it is. Then may I ask what your intention is in keeping us here?" Li Fan began to ramble on again. "For hundreds, even thousands of years, no cultivator has ever set foot in this place. Meeting you two today, I knew you were the ones in my ancestor's prophecy, the opportunity for us to escape this confinement. Seeing you two about to fight over a core formation technique, I hastily spoke up to stop you." Dao Xuanzi sighed. "You flatter us, fellow Taoist. It's just that you may not know, but outside cultivation techniques are extremely rare. It's common for people to turn on each other over a single manual." Li Fan spoke up. "Why must it come to that?" He was stunned. "Listening to your tone, fellow Taoist, could it be?" Li Fan raised two fingers to the sky. "Before my ancestor passed away, he left behind a cultivation technique that leads to the Golden Core realm." Hearing this, the two of them were overjoyed. "That's great. If you have that technique, brother, we won't need to fight anymore." "I wonder what you require, fellow Taoist." He became serious. "My ancestor's only lifelong wish was to be able to return to the Taiyan sect before he died. Besides that technique, he also left behind a magical artifact called the Taiyan Arc. Although it's damaged, my ancestor used the Taiyan arts to calculate that several thousand years later, two cultivators would arrive in this place. One skilled in sword arts and one passionate about artifact refinement, who could help his descendants repair the Taiyan Arc and escape this forsaken land." Hearing this, the two of them were dumbfounded. That's spot on. Brother Ko is passionate about the art of artifact refinement, while I am skilled in sword arts. I never thought the Taiyan arts could be so miraculous. Ko Hong added, with just chi refining cultivation, he already had the ability to divine fate and heavenly secrets like this. It's hard to believe. Li Fan turned to leave. Words are no proof. Please, you two follow me to see the technique for yourselves. Dao Xuanzi's voice was menacing. What's this, brother? You already have a core formation technique in your hands. Is that still not enough for you? Ku Hong gave a placating laugh. All right, he's not going anywhere. And so only the two of them left. He remained in the room, but now a joyful expression was on his face. Li Fan led the other man to a strange cave. Dao Xuanzi was utterly astonished. An immortal mortal barrier. Li Fan replied, one can never be too careful. We are just mortals. To protect our clan's treasure, we had to take such measures. Fellow Taoist, please take a look. This is the technique passed down by my ancestors. With that, he presented the Heavenly Jade Ring, Golden Scroll, a nascent soul stage technique. Current number of cultivators, 0. Seeing this, Dao Xuanzi was stunned. He never expected it to be a nascent soul technique. Li Fan smirked to himself. Just as I predicted. So was I right? Earlier in front of your brother Ko Hong, I only said this was a core formation technique. I was simply afraid he would be overcome with greed. He clasped his hands in admiration. Fellow Taoist, you are truly cautious. I am impressed. Please rest assured. Ko Hong is an expert in the Tao of artifact refinement. I will make sure to persuade him to put his full effort into repairing the Taiyan Arc. Li Fan laughed heartily. Ha ha, then I'll be counting on you both. Once it's successful, I will present this technique to you with both hands. Outside, Ko Hong used his spiritual sense to ask, so what Li Fan said was true. He really has an ancestral core formation technique. Dao Xuanzi replied, that's right. I saw it with my own eyes. His face was filled with greed. He's just a mortal. We could just take the technique by force, Ko Hong suggested. Why don't we just steal it? He's just an insignificant mortal after all. Dao Xuanzi stopped him. Even though Li Fan is only a mortal, he's still a descendant of the Taiyan sect. You saw it yourself. That terrifying divination art of his is truly frightening. If we were to take it by force, who knows? What other tricks he might have hidden away. We're just helping him fix the Taiyan Arc. What's so difficult about that? Why stir up trouble? He thought to himself. If we really did steal it and pushed him into a corner, he might reveal that the technique is actually a nascent soul technique. Then we'd be in big trouble. The next day, he handed the Taiyan Arc over to the two of them for repairs. Ko Hong marveled, truly worthy of an artifact refined by the Taiyan sect. The exquisite refining techniques and the profound formations, they all far surpass anything I've ever studied. If I can successfully restore this, my Tao of artifact refinement is bound to take another step forward. Li Fan added, I'm relying on you both. If you need anything, just let me know. I will certainly provide it. In cultivation, time flies. For what looked like a small wooden boat, they ended up spending nearly a year on it to complete the repairs. That day, upon hearing that the Taiyan Arc was fixed, he rushed to find the two of them. Ko Hong explained, the core energy propulsion formation, the shrinking and transformation formation, and the dust cleansing formation have all been fully restored. However, due to a lack of materials, the defensive and offensive formations could only be crudely repaired. Still passing through the Immortal Slaying Grand Formation shouldn't be an issue. But if you're attacked by other cultivators, I'm afraid it will barely hold up. Li Fan looked at the arc in his hand, thrilled. That's fine. As long as I can escape the Immortal Slaying Grand Formation. Once I return to the cultivation world, I'll be able to find my way back to the Taiyan sect using the token my ancestors left behind. Ko Hong continued, this Taiyan Arc uses spiritual energy for power and requires spiritual sense to be controlled. It has 3 different size levels it can transform into. We don't have many spirit stones in reserve, but the amount I've loaded as fuel should be enough for you to leave this place in its second form. The only thing is controlling the Taiyan Arc requires the spiritual sense of at least the Qi refinement stage. I'm not sure if you, fellow Taoist, will need us to pilot it for you. Before he could finish his sentence, Li Fan had already transformed the arc into its second form. Ko Hong was astonished. Fellow Taoist, you are truly remarkable to be able to control the Taiyan arc despite being immortal. He laughed heartily. It's just a little trick, nothing worth mentioning. I must thank you two. After being imprisoned for 1,000 years, I finally have a hope of escaping, and it's all thanks to the two of you. Dao Xuanzi finally spoke up. Now that the Taiyan arc is repaired, I wonder about the technique. Li Fan replied, It's all prepared. Please follow me to retrieve it. 3 days later, Ko Hong and Dao Xuanzi received the technique manual. Then they bid him farewell. One of them smiled and said, Fellow Taoist, we don't have many spirit stones remaining. If we stay in this immortal slaying land for too long, I fear our cultivation levels will regress. So we came specifically to bid you farewell today. Ko Hong clapped his chest heartily. After you get out, fellow Taoist, if you ever have the chance, come find me in Lingtian City in the Songyan mountain range. As you requested, fellow Taoist, here is a map of the area near the exit of the Immortal Slaying Grand Formation. I had to draw it from memory. I didn't have a jade slip, so I had to use brush and ink. Li Fan expressed his gratitude. Thank you, fellow Taoist. After a few more words of farewell, they transformed into 2 streaks of light and left. On their way, Ko Hong spoke up. Li Fan is certainly a man with great aspirations. It's a shame his time is almost up. Even if he makes it back to the cultivation world, he won't live for much longer. Dao Xuanzi closed his eyes. Without immortality, everything is an illusion. Aren't we all just turning on each other for the sake of eternal life? Ko Hong then asked, speaking of which, that technique Li Fan gave you. What exactly is it? Hearing this, he smiled brightly. It's not the same as the manual in your hands, is it? Rest assured. After I go into seclusion and break through to the Golden Core stage the 3 things I promised you, I won't forget them. This protective fog formation still hasn't dispersed. I wonder, brother, do you dare to charge through it? Ko Hong laughed with confidence. Ha ha, what's there to fear? The scene changes. In the eastern void abyss, a lone ark appears. Inside the cockpit of the Taiyan ark, Li Fan calculated, there are still 14 years until the white bones dissipate. I'm already 71 now. By then, I'll be 85 with my end fast approaching, let alone being able to pilot this ark. In this life, I have nothing left to tie me down. Today, I will find out the truth of this immortal slaying grand formation. The ark plunged into the abyss at an astonishing speed. Down in the void abyss, a thick white fog enveloped everything, making him feel as if he were in a dream. Suddenly, it felt like he had hit something. The body of the Taiyan ship shook violently. Li Fan was shocked. Is this the astral wind layer? According to Ko Hong, these wind blades could easily tear a mortal's body to shreds. Even a Foundation establishment cultivator would have to use their spiritual energy to protect themselves. Thankfully, there's a protective formation. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. An hour later, he carefully navigated the Taiyan ship through the last of the astral wind layer. The tremors subsided, and he was greeted by infinite light before his eyes. He had finally escaped the immortal slaying grand formation. After arriving in the cultivation realm, he chanced upon a rare cultivation technique and formed a golden core in just 100 years. His cultivation path was smooth sailing after that. 1,000 years later, he achieved the Tao and ascended to the immortal realm. Li Fan started from the lowest rank of immortal and cultivated step by step. Eventually, he became the immortal emperor looking down upon the entire immortal realm. He then shattered the spatial barrier of the immortal realm and ascended to the god realm. Starting as a lowly miner after 10,000 years of arduous cultivation, Li Fan reached the God King realm, becoming the most powerful existence in the god realm. By then, he had returned to his youthful appearance. After another 1,000 years of hard training, he ascended to the primeval god realm only to become a gatekeeper at the lowest level, starting all over again from scratch. Suddenly, Li Fan's eyes shot open. He woke with a start. Was all of that just an illusion in the illusory light layer? The ship has turned around. According to Ko Hong's map, I've left the illusory light layer and reached the 3rd layer of the immortal slaying grand formation, the inversion layer. It seems the Taiyan ship left the illusory light layer on its own. That must be why Li Fan just woke up. I lost consciousness in the illusory light layer, but the Taiyan ship still moved to this layer by itself. Perhaps he could let it navigate on its own. He would only need to supply the energy to propel it forward. A faint sensation came from the Taiyan ship telling Li Fan which way to go. He followed the guidance and accelerated forward. The fourth layer of the immortal slaying grand formation, the flowing fire layer. Just as he expected by following the ship's autonomous navigation, he smoothly reached the fourth layer, the flowing fire layer. He was pleased. That's right. This Taiyan warship was originally used to transport mortals 1,000 years ago. The cultivator in charge must have left a hidden path within the ship, allowing it to automatically pass through the immortal slaying grand formation. Having tasted this sweet success, I stopped steering manually and just supplied energy, letting the Taiyan ship fly on its own through the immortal slaying grand formation, the fifth layer, the mystic ice layer, flowing fire, mystic ice thunderstorm. These places seemed incredibly dangerous, but the Taiyan ship always managed to narrowly avoid disaster. The sixth layer, the thunderstorm layer, it was smooth sailing just like that. And just like that, I reached the final layer, the darkness layer. The seventh layer, the darkness layer. According to Ko Hong, this layer has no dangers. It's just a pitch black area. Get through this. And the cultivation realm is right ahead. After the final reincarnation, suddenly from the left, a giant monster's mouth opened wide. Li Fan shouted, "Huanjin system!" The system immediately appeared. End this simulation. Exiting the simulation, he panted in panic. What on earth was that just now? When Ko Hong and Taoist Xuanzi passed through the immortal slaying grand formation, they didn't encounter any creatures in the darkness layer. So why did I run into one? Could it be a trap that only targets mortals? It seems I should wait until the fog clears and the light at the bottom of the void abyss flashes before exploring further. It'll be safer that way, even if I ultimately fail. But the gains from this life far exceeded his expectations. After choosing to keep the Taiyan ship, he immediately began his seventh life. In the fourth designated year, Li Fan secretly led his trusted subordinates to Qian Hong's tomb. This time, he used the bones containing the immortal mortal barrier to gradually wear down the power of the Jibu remnant stele until it weakened. It could no longer pierce armor. Once inside, the system announced, "Energy source detected, Jibu remnant stele, recharge." He immediately chose yes. A pity there was still some loss, but the progress increased by 25%. I just need to do this 3 more times to unlock the second milestone. The other things are worthless to me now. After ordering his men to seal the tomb again, he left the burial ground. In the 5th designated year, he still couldn't resist going to the eastern void abyss. Li Fan stood in silent contemplation, looking down into the deep abyss. The clouds and mist had somewhat dissipated. His eyes were bloodshot. If I pilot the Taiyan ship now, I could probably reach the immortal realm smoothly. Right? Haven't I waited long enough? Do I really have to wait another 15 years? So what if the Huanjin isn't fully charged? Being this timid all the time? How can I achieve the great Tao I've already tried it once in a past life? I just need to avoid that mysterious monster in the darkness layer, and I can leave this godforsaken place. Then suddenly, from the depths of the eastern void abyss, a golden light shot up. 4 red words appeared on the cliff face. The immortal path is dead. Li Fan gasped. How can this be? Just now, countless enchanting voices echoed in my head, urging me to step into the abyss. If it weren't for the light from the bottom of the abyss, piercing through the immortal slaying grand formation, I'm afraid I would have been smashed to pieces long ago. 15 years later, in the 20th designated year, the Huanjin was finally fully charged. With newfound confidence, I returned to the abyss. I piloted the Taiyan ship, and the journey was smooth all the way. I safely reached the thunderstorm layer and stopped just above the darkness layer. A strong wind kicked up, and the fierce bolts of lightning were affected gradually weakening. Tiny specks of light flickered in the darkness. I used that scarce light to search for the monster hiding in the gloom, but unfortunately, I found nothing. Seeing the light about to fade, he no longer hesitated. He used all his strength to pilot the Taiyan ship straight down to the bottom of the void abyss. Just then, the monster from before appeared again. It opened its mouth wide. Li Fan thought, looks like my guess was right. This monster is filled with malice towards mortals. Perhaps its mission is to devour anyone who dares to enter this place. And then the ship successfully escaped the monster's mouth. He used all his might to pilot the ship higher and higher. The Taiyan ship shot straight up to the thunderstorm layer. He was puzzled. It stopped chasing me once I reached the thunderstorm layer. It's staying right at the edge of the darkness layer. Good. Very good. I'll use the light from the storm to get a clear look at what that thing really is. Li Fan was utterly shocked by what he saw. Before him was the monster's true form. What the hell is this? A colossal whale. And his Taiyan ship was pathetically tiny in comparison. Yet every time he got close, it detected him immediately. The only way is to try another method. Luckily, there was still time to try again and again. 15 years later, Li Fan tried to break through the darkness layer countless times, but with each attempt, the time between him entering and the whale detecting him grew shorter and shorter. Therefore, each time he had to struggle in despair before barely making it back. Anchor year 35. In the thunderstorm layer, only when the white mist dissipated did the giant whale seem to be distracted by something, taking a moment to notice Li Fan. Using that brief window, perhaps he could make it to the bottom of the void abyss this time. Li Fan decided to risk it all. Using his top speed, he plunged down with all his might, breaking through the darkness layer before the whale could react. Below, a hazy scene appeared, growing closer and closer. The terrifying roar of the whale echoed once more. Li Fan felt helpless. I'm not going to make it. The Huanzhen system displayed a notification. This simulation has ended. He decided to skip the option to accelerate the energy charging process. The psychological age limit didn't increase. It seemed to have reached its maximum and couldn't be raised any further. He let out a sigh. Good thing I still have 748 years to spend. 8th Life Anchor Year 4. Li Fan opened Qian Hong's tomb again. Looking at the progress bar, he smirked. At least this life wasn't a complete waste. Anchor Year 5. The day the white mist dissipated. The void transformation charging progress was nearly at 90%, but to him, anything less than 100% was useless. All he could do was wait patiently. Anchor Year 20. Li Fan returned and failed. Anchor Year 35. He tried again and still failed. But that attempt wasn't entirely useless. At least he had become more and more skilled at piloting the Taiyan ship. Anchor Year 50. I have no choice. I have to force my way through the darkness layer once more. I'm old now. My reflexes and spirit have weakened. Even if I go, success isn't guaranteed. So he decided to meet his two old friends to see if they had any clues. High above the argument from that year, replayed. Dao Xuanzi, don't push your luck. Hearing that line again now, it felt a bit nostalgic. Li Fan once again used the Golden Core cultivation method as a pretext to lure the two to the Grand Preceptor's residence, then asked, have you two ever seen a monster like this? After they had eaten and drank, I took out a drawing of the giant whale. He began his act. Before my ancestor passed away, he warned me that if I ever had the chance to leave this forsaken land, I wouldn't need to worry about anything else. With the protection of the Taiyan sect's ship, I would surely be safe. There's only one layer I must be careful of. A whale lurks there, and I must be extremely cautious. Ko Hong was skeptical. In that dark, empty place, there's such a ferocious beast. How come I've never seen it? Dao Xuanzi hesitated. Could it be? Hearing this, Li Fan grew excited. Oh, it seems my fellow Taoist knows of this creature. He began to explain. I've only seen it mentioned in an ancient text. Legend has it that in ancient times there was a sect called the Beast Taming Sect. They didn't have any profound cultivation methods. They relied solely on a technique called the beast taming art to control the strange beasts of the world and use them in battle. Among the famous beasts they controlled, there seems to be one identical to this whale. He suddenly remembered. Now that you mention it, I remember too. I think it was called the boundary-rending whale. He eagerly asked, so do you two know of any way to avoid it? The two of them spoke one after another, but he could only make out a few sentences. A strange beast like that disappeared from the cultivation world thousands of years ago. How could they possibly know its habits? Li Fan clasped his hands behind his back and sighed. In the end, do I still have to face this alone? After handing the cultivation method over to Dao Xuanzi and seeing the two of them off, I ended this life. 9th life. Li Fan opened Qian Hong's tomb again, wanting to absorb the energy from the fragmented stele to recharge. Unfortunately, the Huanzhen system didn't react at all. Anchor Year 20, Anchor Year 35, Anchor Year 50. He tried relentlessly but failed every time he tried to cross the darkness layer. Anchor Year 65. Li Fan was now 85 years old, a candle flickering in the wind. He was too old now. He could no longer match wits or strength with the whale. Not forcing it any longer, he let go of the controls of the Taiyan ship, allowing it to drift slowly down into the void abyss. Through the astral wind layer, the illusory light layer, the inversion layer, the astral layer, the frozen ice layer, the thunderstorm layer, the darkness layer. The Taiyan arc passed through each layer smoothly when suddenly something startled Li Fan, causing his eyes to fly open. What's going on? Why hasn't the void whale appeared this time? We're about to reach the bottom of the void abyss. I can't miss this chance. Full speed ahead. The Taiyan arc poured all of its energy into diving down. Behind it, the void whale had spotted him and was giving chase. I was wondering why it spotted me now. So that's it. The void whale can't see, or rather it ignores objects moving at a constant velocity. As long as I maintain my speed, I can pass through the Immortal Severance formation safely. The final chain separating me from the land of Immortal Severance has been broken. Li Fan's laughter echoed as the void whale missed him, his triumphant laugh mingling with the creature's enraged roar. The Taiyan arc broke through the rift between the two realms, hurtling towards the cultivation world. The space around him blurred as if he had passed through countless worlds in the blink of an eye. The immense pressure caused blood to stream from Li Fan's nose and eyes, but he paid it no mind. Looking back at the Immortal Severance formation, his vision stretched to infinity. And, in that very moment, Li Fan saw a sight he would never forget. It was the void whales. A void whale appeared. No, there were hundreds of thousands of them, not just one gradually revealing themselves. Tens of thousands of void whales slowly materialized before his eyes. In the void, they tore open patches of dark space and the land of immortal severance. I had reached, grew ever more distant from the cultivation world here. From below the black hole, Li Fan's arc shot out, arriving swiftly at a place of majestic mountains and brilliant sunshine. Li Fan, his body covered in wounds, stammered, "So, this is the cultivation world." Then his vision began to blur. To see the cultivation world before I die, this life wasn't a waste. Huan Chan. The system's voice announced, "This simulation has ended." Li Fan stood within the system's light, smiling with satisfaction. 9 reincarnations, nearly 500 long years. I've finally reached the threshold of the cultivation world. According to my previous plan, I was going to choose to accelerate my energy accumulation, but when I saw the list of items I could keep, which included the Jibu fragmented stele, I began to hesitate. After thinking for a long time, I decided to keep that fragmented stele. It was a good chance to test a theory I had. My 10th life began. Since I didn't choose to accelerate accumulation, I had to wait until year 25 for my energy to fully charge. In the 3rd year of my plan, I went to Qian Hong's tomb. Instead of using the immortal mortal barrier, I directly took out the Zibu fragmented stele from Huan Chan. The moment the stele from my previous life appeared, it bizarrely began to melt like ice in the sun, while the formation from the Zibu fragmented stele in Qian Hong's tomb became much stronger than before. So it's true. Heavenly and earthly wonders are unique. 2 identical wonders cannot exist in the world. I used Huan Chan to create an identical one. Exactly the same. As a result, the 2 items fused, ultimately becoming one. After that, I ordered my subordinates to use the immortal mortal barrier to weaken the stele, then entered Qian Hong's tomb. The outside was almost unchanged. Only the fragmented stele was less damaged. Huan Chan still couldn't absorb it. It seems the stele needs to be more complete to generate enough energy for Huan Chan to continue absorbing. He then stored the now stronger Zibu fragmented stele into the Taiyan arc as provisions for his future journey to the cultivation world. In the 20th year of the plan, with Huan Chan about to be fully charged, I dealt harshly with a series of corrupt officials, landlords, and local tyrants. I gathered all the gold, silver, and jewels they had accumulated over generations, taking all the wealth their families had amassed. I pocketed it all, because in the cultivation world, I'll still need to interact with mortals, so of course I had to prepare such wealth in advance. Besides money, food is also essential. But food is the foundation of a nation, and what's more, I wanted too much at once. All the court officials submitted memorials in protest. I wasn't afraid. In front of all the civil and military officials, I released the Taiyan Pearl, enlarging it to its maximum size to hover over the imperial palace. After the common people saw it, they all knelt and kowtowed, and the civil and military officials in the court, upon seeing such an immortal's methods, their attitudes immediately changed proactively, helping me gather grain. With the proactive help of the officials, and after eliminating a batch of profiteering merchants, the Taiyan Ark was finally filled to the brim. Everything was ready. I no longer had any attachments to the mortal world piloting the Taiyan Ark. I once again arrived above the void abyss, expanding my consciousness to let the Ark operate automatically at a steady speed. The journey only took a few hours, but to me, it felt like several hundred years had passed between the two realms. The tearing sensation of crossing the boundary. Yeah, it came again. This time, I was gradually getting used to it. After a long wait, I finally broke through. I had chosen the land of immortal severance and entered the cultivation world, but as I got a clear look at my surroundings, I was a bit stunned. Li Fan stood still, utterly confused. How can this be? Why did I appear in a completely different place this time? This ocean wasn't on the map Ko Hong drew either. He then said aloud, "Oh well, I'll just have to figure it out as I go. I wonder if I can find an inhabited place before the spirit stones in the Taiyan Ark run out." Choosing a direction, I piloted the Taiyan Ark while searching for any sign of a city. The sea was boundless. I flew for 7 days and 7 nights, but saw no one. After another 10+ days, the Taiyan Ark slowed down more and more. Clearly, the spirit stones were about to run out. Just when I was at my wit's end, the silhouette of a ship appeared on the sea in the distance. When I used my telescope to look at that ship, I was speechless. It was a ship all right, but it was a sinking ship. It seemed to have been attacked by something. There was a large hole in the hull, 2/3 of it was already submerged, and around the ship dozens of people were struggling in the water. They must be the people from the ship. Over there, a person shouted loudly, "Everyone, don't be afraid. I've already sent a signal to the Immortal Master. He'll be here to save us soon. Everyone hang on." Hearing this, he was startled. Immortal Master. Then he silently descended below them. An idea sparked in my mind. I stored the Taiyan Ark, jumped into the sea, and stealthily swam towards them. I secretly snuck into the crowd, pretending to be on the verge of drowning. The others were shouting, "Immortal Master, save us." He joined in too. "Immortal Master, help model." Suddenly, that Immortal Master appeared hovering in the sky above the chaos. Li Fan looked up from below, thinking, a figure has appeared in the sky. And from the sound of his voice, it's a man. This person is casting some kind of spell. His face was obscured as if covered by a spectral veil, making it impossible to see clearly. The moment he appeared, the sea became calm. I also realized I couldn't make a sound anymore. That Immortal Master in the sky raised his hand and performed a technique. Nearby, their sunken ship began to rise. Li Fan was dumbfounded. With just a single finger, that master lifted the almost completely submerged ship. Once it was out of the water, the large hole in the hull was repaired in the blink of an eye. The ethereal master gently waved his hand, and everyone who was drowning was flung back onto the ship. Then he flew closer to them and asked loudly, "Who sent me the signal?" A man in light green robes came forward, knelt and said, "This humble one, Su Changyu." The Immortal Master's expression was cold and stern. "You all know the rules. Once we arrive, this has nothing to do with me. I have never met you, and I don't know who you are." "Understood." Su Changyu, still bowing his head, replied, "This humble one understands." The man waved his hand, creating an illusion. I don't know what kind of spell the master cast, but the ship shot off in one direction at an incredible speed. The master stood at the bow of the ship, silent. An eerie silence fell over everyone on board. Half a day passed. When night fell, they finally saw flickering lights in the distance. It was a prosperous island. The harbor had over 100 large ships docked, looking magnificent. But the ship I was on didn't go to the main dock. It circled around to the back of the island. Arriving at a secluded spot, the boat silently followed a waterway into a natural stone cave. After navigating through many winding passages for a while, it finally stopped. Once the boat was steady, several men in black came aboard to meet us. It was as if these men in black didn't even see the Immortal Master. They just herded us off the boat and led us into a large hall. Those guys stood before everyone and announced, "Tonight you lot will rest here. Food has been prepared in the hall. Help yourselves. Tomorrow someone will come to arrange new identities for you lot." After saying that, the men in black left. A guy with a ponytail sighed. What terrible luck. We were even attacked by a sea demon. There were nearly 100 of us when we left, and now not even half survived. A fat man in a yellow robe added, I don't know what my father was thinking, forcing me to come to this great world of cultivation. What's so fun about cultivation? It's not as good as listening to music and watching dancers. The young man with the ponytail scratched his head and continued, That's right. Back home, I'm the son of the Prince of Jenin. What kind of glory and wealth haven't I enjoyed? What's so good about this godforsaken place? At this point, Chang Yu approached them. Things have already come to this. What's the point of talking now? Didn't every one of your families pay a great price to get you here? Instead of complaining uselessly if you can really become an immortal master, not to mention immortality, you'll even have the chance to return to your homeland and bring your entire clan out. Overhearing their conversation, Li Fan thought, these people are probably like me mortals exiled from a land devoid of immortals. It's just that the land they come from seems to know a lot about the existence of the cultivation world. Moreover, they've even established a well-developed route for crossing over. Suddenly, a hand slapped him hard on the shoulder. The man in the yellow robe asked with some suspicion, Brother, you look rather unfamiliar. I wonder what official post did you hold in the Dali Kingdom? Or perhaps you're a wealthy merchant from some region. Li Fan silently stared at the fat man's hand. Then he immediately swung his arm, knocking the man's hand away. His expression terrified the man. Damn it, he scared me to death. You can tell just by looking at that old guy that he's been in a high position for a long time. He's definitely not someone to be trifled with. Early the next morning in that same room, everyone was sitting inside like refugees. A man in green robes walked in. In a moment, I will take you to get your residency papers. Once that's done, you will officially become people of Luli Island. Remember, don't say things you shouldn't say. Otherwise, I can't guarantee your lives. You are all residents from Dayu Island to the west. Your island was destroyed by a natural disaster, which is why you fled here as refugees. If anyone asks, just say that. Following that man, everyone followed the orders of the middle-aged man dressed in ragged clothes and followed him through a secret passage. Under the supervision of several men in black, they left the cave and went up to the surface. The group consisted of several dozen people, not a small number, but the islanders just glanced at them and looked away. Obviously, they were used to the sight. Winding through the city's residential area, turning left and right, for who knows how long they finally arrived in front of a mansion. The young gatekeeper went inside to announce them and came back out shortly after. He led the group through a side gate on the left and into a reception hall. In the main hall, 2 or 3 groups had already gathered, totaling over 100 people. It wasn't long before it was their turn. The middle-aged man stepped forward and said respectfully, Steward Zhao. Steward Zhao stroked his beard as he walked. This group are all refugees here to register their households. Sun Zhang, are these refugees all from wealthy and powerful families? The man addressed as Sun Zhang put his hand in his sleeve. That's right. They were all wealthy families on Dayu Island before. It's a pity they didn't have an immortal master to protect them. When the disaster struck, all their wealth turned to dust. Now they can only travel thousands of miles to Luli Island to seek refuge. He tightened his grip on a gold ingot in his hand. A few days ago, the natural disaster was so rampant that even our Luli Island was affected. The islands to the west suffered even heavier losses. I heard that over 200 islands were razed to the ground. Countless mortals were buried at the bottom of the sea. It's all thanks to the compassion of the immortal masters that we are allowed to aid the refugees. When the immortal masters bestow their rewards, you will surely get your share. It's a good thing that you of the Tianbao Pavilion have been so dedicated. Rest assured. I will be sure to report everything to the island master, then have the steward begin the citizenship procedures for everyone. Soon it was my turn. The steward stared at Li Fan for a long time. He picked up his brush. What's your name? He replied, Li Fan. After writing the name, the steward handed him a piece of glass with his name on it. Here, drip a drop of fresh blood onto this. Without hesitation, Li Fan bit his fingertip. As fresh blood flowed out, the piece of glass quickly absorbed every drop. The man instructed, keep this spirit talisman safe. From now on, it is the token that proves your identity on this island, accepting any job, receiving food rations, dealing with inspections. For all matters big and small, you must present this spirit talisman. Do not lose it. Sun Zheng, standing beside him, was puzzled. Why was Steward Zhao being so friendly with Li Fan? He was so thorough with his instructions. The distribution of citizenship papers was very efficient, and the entire group received theirs. With their Luli Island citizenship papers, they left the place. Instead of returning to the old cave, they were led by Sun Zhang to the spring courtyard within a jade mansion. Sun Zhang held out his hand. "You have your citizenship papers, so we can sign the oath now, right?" Chang Yu quickly took a piece of paper from his pocket. He bit his fingertip hard, letting the blood flow, and wrote his name directly onto the paper. As soon as he finished, the paper vanished. He began to speak. "As for the so-called 3 lifetime pacts, after we are completely settled, I will sign the final contract as agreed." The man sighed, holding his head in exhaustion. "Dealing with you people is such a hassle. If it weren't for showing respect to the immortal master of Tianbao Tower, we would never have taken on this losing business deal. All residents of Liuli Island can receive a place to live using their citizenship spirit talisman. In addition, for the first year of citizenship, you can receive a certain amount of food rations for free each month." Chang Yu spoke up. "I was wondering, what must we do if we wish to cultivate?" Hearing the question, Sun Zhang explained, "You are all mortals who have returned from the land of exile. The concentration of miasma in your bodies far exceeds that of ordinary people. If you wish to cultivate, you must first eliminate the miasma within you." He continued to ask, "We were already aware of this. So how can the miasma be removed?" He patiently replied, "There are several methods to remove miasma. The first is the spirit pool body cleansing on the island. Soaking in the spirit pool for a day and a night will completely cleanse the miasma. Unfortunately, the materials required to open the spirit pool are incredibly expensive. Even with its wealth, Liuli Island can only open it once every 3 years. The last time it opened was a year ago, which means you'll have to wait another 2 years. The next time it opens, the number of spots will be limited and the competition will be fierce. As outsiders with no foundation here, how could you possibly compete with the locals?" He frowned. "Then what about the other methods?" He answered, "Cultivate the Xuanhuang Pure Heart incantation combined with special items and diet. Over time, you can change your constitution and cleanse the miasma. Although this method takes several years, it is safe. The medicine and the incantation are sold at the island's pharmacy." Hearing how long he would have to wait, he clenched his fists. 5 or 6 years, were you? Aye, or even longer." He replied with a cold tone, "The third way." Sun Zhang's face turned terrifying. "Is to become a test subject." Upon hearing this, Chang Yu froze slightly. A test subject. Sun Zhang was calm. "That's right. Some immortal masters are very interested in the miasma within mortals' bodies. Every year, they select volunteers from among the mortals on the island. To become test subjects, the immortal masters will use special methods to extract the miasma from the subjects' bodies for research. It only takes a few months to completely remove the miasma from your body. However, the process is excruciatingly painful. You could say it's a fate worse than death. Most cannot endure it, and go mad by the time the miasma is fully extracted." Chang Yu's face darkened. "Is there no other way?" He raised a single finger. "I've heard that direct mortal descendants of an immortal master can use heavenly and earthly treasures to reconstruct their bodies, not only getting rid of the miasma, but also enhancing their cultivation aptitude. That kind of opportunity is something ordinary people can't even imagine. Even the Lord of Liuli Island doesn't have such a great opportunity. That's all I know. If you truly wish to cultivate, think it over carefully in the coming days. I know you've returned from the land of exile and endured great hardships. Everyone yearns for the path of cultivation. Who wasn't like that in their youth? Unfortunately, immortal cultivation is too difficult. Even if you manage to cleanse the miasma, those who can sense spiritual energy and draw it into their bodies are still extremely rare. Why bring trouble upon yourself? What's so bad about being immortal? Instead of suffering to seek the Tao, why not live and enjoy the present moment to the fullest?" Hearing those words, Chang Yu clenched his fists tightly as Sun Zhang left. Everyone gradually dispersed. I asked around and found the place to receive my free residence. I presented my spirit talisman and was immediately led by a dedicated person to the residential area in the north. This area of Liuli Island was densely packed with countless houses. Most were just a single room, but they had surrounding walls and a small courtyard. It didn't look too bad. After handing him the key, the guide left. The person added, "This is row 6, house 7. He stepped inside. The interior was very simple with only a bed, a table, and chairs. Li Fan could only accept it. At least my living situation is settled for now, thanks to those people from the land of exile. It's a pity that apart from Chang Yu, the rest are all unambitious mortals. It's hard to achieve great things with them. My immediate goal is to remove the miasma in my body. The spots for the spirit pool body cleansing are precious, but I have countless treasures from the Taiyan ship. Competing for a spot wouldn't be difficult, but it would be too conspicuous. Precious treasures cannot be revealed. I have no foundation on this island. Suddenly flaunting my wealth will definitely attract unwanted attention. I must plan this very carefully." Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Li Fan was startled. "Who is it?" A large, dark figure appeared at the door. "It's me." He was already sitting inside, having drawn his family's ancestral sword and infused it with magic. He cautiously opened the door. The man in yellow from before pushed the door open forcefully. "You're not one of us from the land of exile, are you?" Li Fan was taken aback. "What?" The man was firm. "Who are you really? What is your purpose for sneaking onto Luli Island?" Li Fan began to radiate killing intent. His face darkened, becoming terrifying. "How did you know I'm not from the land of exile?" The man replied, "When we fell into the water, I vaguely saw a figure rise up from the bottom. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But then I thought about it carefully. You weren't in the group that left the land of exile." He stood with his back turned, his expression grim. "It seems you're quite sharp, very meticulous." He was naturally proud of the praise. Of course, besides me, none of those idiots realized a stranger had infiltrated their ranks. Li Fan drew his sword and slowly advanced. Seriously, no one else noticed this besides you. He still didn't sense the danger and kept rambling on. "Of course, how could those idiots possibly fight me?" In an instant, a sword pierced through his chest. He collapsed to the ground, lifeless. Once it was over, he put his sword away. He really overestimated himself, thinking he could rely on his wits just because he found me suspicious. He rushed to threaten me the moment he found out I was an imposter, but he never stopped to think that you all are just pretending to be refugees to get your own household registrations. The moment they get a bit of status, they start acting like locals. At first, the unknown Immortal Master, who received the guest Zun Zheng at Tianbao Pavilion, was extremely cautious, trying to hide his identity as an exiled mortal. Tianbao Pavilion and the others wouldn't dare to investigate openly, even if they figure out that the fat guy came looking for me. There's no body now. As long as I just say, "I don't know," no one can do anything to me. Just as expected, no one asked anything for the next few days, except for Su Jiangyu, who dropped by to ask a single question. The fat guy disappeared, and no one seemed to care. During these days, he was gathering information all over the island. As I was figuring out how to use the treasure from the Tai Dian ship, I started to get a general picture of Lu Li Island. This sea region is called the Tung Vun Sea. The Tung Vun Sea is boundless, and Lu Li Island is located in its south-central region. It was named Lu Li Island because the surrounding area is teeming with Lu Li beasts, which have fresh, delicious meat. Mortals love the Lu Li fish. Furthermore, some elixirs refined by immortal masters use the Lu Li jade that occasionally forms inside the fish's body. Therefore, the immortal masters on Lu Li Island collect a certain amount of Lu Li jade as tax each year. Going to sea to catch Lu Li fish is a very popular job. When you catch fish, you only need to submit 70%. The rest you can sell yourself. A few days ago, a fleet went out to sea. Not only did they return with a huge catch, but more importantly, they came across an attacked ship. Unexpectedly, that ship had over 10 chests of treasure. Treasure? The fleet really hit the jackpot this time. Regarding the items salvaged by that fleet, the rule is the same as for the Lu Li fish. You can keep 3/7 for yourself, while the rest must be submitted to the authorities. The fleet's return to port caused a huge commotion, even drawing out the general manager of finance manager Qian, who also came out to inspect it. Many people are secretly pulling strings to get a spot on the next voyage. If I can just get a spot to go out to sea alone, I can easily launder the valuables from the ship. The hardest part of laundering the Taiyan's valuables is securing a solo voyage. Too many people want to join the fleet. I asked around and quickly learned the crucial point: the three great families, Zhao Zhou and Qian. Under the Lord of Liuli Island, there are 3 managers. Manager Zhao is in charge of personnel. Manager Qian is in charge of finances, and Manager Zhou is in charge of security. The image of Manager Qian comes to mind, and most of the voyage slots are decided by Manager Qian. Manager Zhao and Manager Zhou have always wanted a piece of the action, but they've always been kept in check by Manager Qian. He only allocates 1 or 2 fleets to them. Li Fan stroked his chin thinking, when I registered, my household manager Zhao treated me completely differently from everyone else. I don't know why. Perhaps I should pay Manager Zhao a visit. The next morning, at Tianbao Pavilion, Li Fan understood that Steward Zhao wasn't the kind of person he could meet just because he wanted to. Therefore, he decided to go through Zun. Zhang was at Tianbao Pavilion, but he was flatly rejected. At that moment, he stood before a man in black who refused him, saying, "What kind of person do you think Elder Zun is? You think you can meet him just because you want to get lost." As he was leaving, Li Fan looked back and thought, Tianbao Pavilion is a place of business after all. Why would they turn someone away without even seeing them? What's more, these men in black didn't even bother to report my arrival. They made the decision on their own as if they already knew who I was. He frowned. Could something have happened in the lie world that made Zunjiang suddenly turn his back on people? Thinking of the gloomy image of Zhang Yu tightly clutching the paper in his hand, Li Fan pondered. After asking around, he finally found out what had happened, remembering the young man with the ponytail. As the story went, it turned out that Zhang Yu, wanting to quickly cleanse the residual aura from his body, had resolved to become a test subject before leaving. He personally signed his name on the remaining contract. Speaking of which, the young man sighed softly and continued. From that point on, the 3 contracts were fulfilled. The contracts were also completely dissolved. The Lie World and Tianbao Pavilion have nothing to do with each other from now on. Li Fan put on an understanding expression and said, "No wonder. They turned their backs on us so suddenly and even intentionally avoided us. I never thought Tu Zhang Yu would be so resolute." Suddenly, the young man said loudly, "I told him not to be so impatient." But he wouldn't listen. Then he added sorrowfully, "If it weren't for his little sister's serious illness." Brother Tu wouldn't have pushed himself this hard. Seeing his expression, Li Fan tried to think of a solution, recalling the scene from that evening. "Even though Zunjiang is avoiding me, I will absolutely not give up so easily." He mulled over his every thought since that day. He couldn't help but offer words of comfort. To Zhang Yu, at the very least, he isn't a wicked man. He's always put on a cold front, probably just to avoid getting too involved with the mortals of the Forsaken Land. Once again, Li Fan stood before the pavilion's entrance. Compared to a stranger, I'd much rather deal with someone whose roots I know a little about. So he returned to stand before Tianbao Pavilion once more. Seeing him approach, the man in black couldn't help but curse loudly. "You again, kid, you must have a death wish." In front of everyone, Li Fan wasn't afraid in the slightest. He smiled and replied, "I'm here to discuss business with Tianbao Pavilion. You want to kick me out before even hearing what I have to say. Is this how Tianbao Pavilion treats its guests?" Seeing this, everyone started murmuring, and the man in black was left speechless. After going inside to ask for instructions, the black-clad guards finally led Li Fan in. Li Fan was taken to a guest room. A servant served him tea. Not the least bit afraid, he picked up the teacup and drank. After finishing, Li Fan gave a happy smile. Delicious tea. Suddenly, Zunjiang walked out from somewhere and said, "The great Yu flame dragon grows in volcanic craters at the bottom of the sea. There were only about 10 of them around Great Yu Island. Now that the island has been destroyed, the great Yu flame dragon can be considered a lost treasure." Li Fan gently set his teacup down and replied politely, "Then I have Elder Zun to thank for this blessing." As he stepped closer, Zunjiang spoke with a serious expression. "The matter of the Great Li is over. There should be no reason for us to have any more dealings. Why have you come looking for me again?" When asked, he glanced over and replied, "Elder Zun, you misunderstand. I'm truly here to discuss a business deal." Hearing this, he sounded a bit contemptuous. "Business from someone like you." Hearing that, he couldn't help but feel annoyed and shot him a glare. Being stared at, Zunjiang froze and remained silent for a long while. After a moment, Zunjiang went to the opposite chair, pulled it out, and asked, "What kind of business?" At this point, Li Fan got to the main topic. I wonder if Tianbao Pavilion would be interested in a slot for a sea voyage. Thinking of the fish and the gold, silver, and jewels, he replied, every trip out to sea. Never mind the treasures, just the azure glass, fish, and other marine specialties are enough. To fill the boats, it would be a lie to say Tianbao Pavilion isn't interested. At this, Zunjiang remembered the steward. He scowled as if threatening, but all the voyage slots are tightly controlled by Steward Tian. Forget Tianbao Pavilion, even Steward Zhao, and can only secure 1 or 2 slots. You're a newcomer. What makes you think you're capable of getting a piece of that pie? Li Fan tilted his head and replied, if I can get an audience with Steward Zhao, I have my own ways of persuading him. After hearing this, Zunjiang fell silent and scowled. He stared back firmly. Suddenly, a girl walked in and spoke up. Fine, letting him meet Steward Zhao isn't that difficult. This girl stood with an incredibly charming posture and continued, if he fails, chop him up and throw him to the fishes. Seeing her appear, Zunjiang bowed his head respectfully. Greetings, shopkeeper. Seeing her sit across from him, Li Fan also greeted her politely. Then I thank you in advance, shopkeeper. She then rested her chin on the table, looking cute. How sure are you? You don't seem like the bragging type. Hearing that, he reaffirmed his stance. My word has always been my bond. The shopkeeper also smiled lightly. If you truly succeed. A Tianbao Pavilion must take a worthy share of the profits. He readily agreed. According to the island's rules, 3/10 of every sea voyage's earnings are kept. I won't take any of it. Half for Steward Zhao and the other half for Tianbao Pavilion. Hearing this, the shopkeeper was a bit confused. How strange. So, what is it you want for going through all this trouble? Li Fan replied, I only want a slot to enter the tin, the Lin Chi, which opens only once every 3 years. Hearing this, both Zunjiang and the shopkeeper's jaws dropped. Her lips tightened, as if holding something back. Then she burst into a sarcastic laugh. Oh, please, old man, you're already so old and you want to learn how to cultivate like the others, honestly. The shopkeeper sat there laughing loudly in the silent room. She couldn't stop clutching her stomach and laughing while Li Fan maintained a calm expression. I seek eternal life. I would have no regrets even in death. Hearing these words, the shopkeeper stopped laughing, stunned. Her lips tightened again. A moment later, she seriously placed a hand on her chest with confidence. Fine, I agree to this. At the end of the meeting, the shopkeeper walked him out and said, Once I've scheduled the appointment, I will send someone to inform you. Li Fan clasped his hands in thanks. Then it's settled. Then he turned his back, ready to leave. He even said, I'm at house number 7 in the outer city's Lutong district. You can find me there. I felt something was wrong. Tuo Changyu was trying to remind the manager about the Spirit Z crystal position. Before he could finish, she calmly replied, Although the competition for the Spirit Z crystal position is fierce every year, our Tianbao Pavilion is not without the strength to compete for it. The manager smiled like a blooming flower. If he can really win a spot for a seafaring fleet, the profit from just 5 years would be comparable to 1 position. This is a sure profit. Her expression hardened. On the other hand, Tuo Changyu was a bit surprised. What? The manager put on a terrified expression. That man's eyes, they look so terrifying. Back to Li Fan. On the way home, he stopped by an apothecary to buy the Xuanhuang heart-cleansing incantation and its accompanying medicine. Even if everything went smoothly, it would still be 2 years until the Spirit Z crystal opened. Might as well start cultivating and see how it goes. Who knows, maybe I, Li Fan, am a prodigy and won't need 2 years to get rid of this affliction on my own. A few days later, I stayed home cultivating, waiting to meet Manager Zhao, but who would have thought? I haven't even seen his face yet. Instead, I heard some rather surprising news. A pile of shattered bones lies on a cutting board. Tuo Changyu is dead. Upon seeing that chaotic pile of flesh, both I and the young man with the ponytail trembled. When his body was brought back, it was just a twisted mass of flesh and blood no longer human-shaped. It was horrifying. The flesh even twitched on its own, making one's hair stand on end. Eventually, the two of them stood sorrowfully before his tombstone in the rain. These people from the Li realm just arrived here. They didn't even have the money for a burial plot. They were originally planning to cremate him. I couldn't bear it, so I used a bit of my own money to have Tuo Changyu buried. It's been like this from the start. From the Zhenan king of the Li realm Xiaoheng, He was crying his eyes out, but Li Fan didn't feel anything in particular, just a bit of melancholy. Li Fan replayed the whole affair in his mind. This Tuo Changyu, his way of dealing with people was excellent, and his mind was quite resolute. While you couldn't call him a once-in-a-century talent, he was certainly no mediocrity among the people from the Li realm. I originally thought he was someone who could achieve something. He looked up at the gloomy sky. A person like that couldn't even overcome the first prerequisite of cultivation, purging the affliction, to just die so quietly like this. The path of immortality is fraught with hardship. The scene shifts to Li Fan cultivating arduously at home. While cultivating the Xuan Huang heart-cleansing incantation, I came to understand that saying even more deeply. The truth is, I'm no peerless genius. Others see some results after half a month, but for me, even after a month, nothing has changed. For nearly a month, I've barely gone outside just cultivating this heart-cleansing incantation. Normally, even someone with average aptitude would feel their spirit improve and their thoughts quicken after half a month with clear results. But a month has passed, and I haven't felt any change at all. Then as a man in black comes to deliver a message to him, Li Fan thinks, I'm not in a hurry anyway. I'll just treat it as a daily cultivation exercise. Another half a month passed like that. Finally, the people from Tianbao Pavilion arrived. The scene appears of him meeting Manager Zhao. I followed the messenger. In a courtyard of Tianbao Pavilion, I met Manager Zhao. At that time, Li Fan was kneeling below. Manager Zhao, it's been a long time. Hearing this, the manager tilted his head slightly and spoke. I heard from my people at Tianbao Pavilion that you want to request a spot on a seafaring fleet. That's quite an appetite. What backing do you have? Asked this, he confidently replied, a seafaring fleet is merely for seeking profit. I wonder, Manager Zhao, how does the profit from catching glazed fish compare to salvaging sunken ships and taking the treasures directly? Suddenly the manager whipped his head around. Salvaging treasure can be worth many fishing voyages. But this kind of good fortune, how can you encounter it every time? I've been on this island for over 10 years, and in my memory, there have only been a few major hauls. Li Fan remained resolute. If I manage a fleet, I can guarantee that every voyage will bring back a certain amount of treasure. Hearing this, the manager's eyes lit up. After using his ability to see into people's hearts, Manager Zhao calmly stroked his beard. He's not lying. Seeing this, he became even more confident and tried to persuade him, I am indeed not boasting. I wonder how Manager Zhao was able to tell. He stroked his beard and replied, since birth, I have possessed a pair of unique eyes that can discern talent and distinguish truth from falsehood. Just now, when I heard you speak, I saw a light on you. A gentle white light proving your words are not false and you have no ill intentions. After hearing this, Li Fan was a bit surprised. There's such a unique art. On the day of my registration, Manager Zhao's attitude towards me seemed a little different from how he treated others. Could it be that he saw something then? He recalled the scene from that time. His facial muscles relaxed as he answered, I only saw that you possessed extraordinary wealth and fortune, and at the same time your hands were stained with a lot of fresh blood. Clearly, you are no ordinary person, so I was just being a little polite to you. Just a casual act to form a good bond. Li Fan, standing beside him, continued. So, you're saying that on the day I registered, you already saw that what Tianbao Pavilion's Tuo Changyu said wasn't true. Manager Zhao appeared nonchalant. True or false, what does it matter? With an immortal master presiding over the island, there's no fear of trouble. As long as you know your place, nothing will be done to you. A faint image of the immortal master appears. Manager Zhao's eyes grew pensive as he added, besides taking in refugees was also the immortal master's instruction. For Tuo Changyu to be able to lead so many refugees to Liuli Island, why would I make things difficult for him? After hearing this, Li Fan gratefully clasped his hands. So, that's how it is. Now that you can see I'm not lying, Manager Zhao, can you reconsider giving me a position on the sea crew? He calmly sat down at the table. You're a newcomer with no connections. If I just hand the fleet over to you, it will surely cause a lot of resentment. He stroked his beard and continued his analysis. How about this? Next time the fleet goes out, you'll go with them. If you can really find treasure every single time, it won't take long for the crew to be completely won over. At that point, you can legitimately take over the fleet. Seeing that this was reasonable, he immediately agreed. Manager Zhao is so thoughtful. Hearing this shocking news, the treasurer was also startled. What he convinced Manager Zhao that easily? Sun Zhang replied, "That's right." The treasurer then wondered, could it be that old guy wasn't bluffing? Is he really that sure he can do it? Sun Zhang added, "I don't know what kind of backing he has." Then with a serious expression, she ordered, "That empty house and plot of land on East Street in the city. Give it to him." Hearing this, Sun Zhang jumped in surprise. Huh? He hurriedly tried to stop her. "Treasurer, we paid a high price for that house to bribe Manager Qian. How can we just give it to him like that? Even if we're going to give it to him, we should at least wait until he helps us secure the fleet." But she remained firm, her arms crossed. "Just go. If we really wait until then." A small house won't be enough to win his favor. Sun Zhang sent someone to deliver the deed to me. Naturally, I didn't refuse. There wasn't much to pack either. I moved into the small courtyard on East Street that very day. Compared to the slums outside the city, the environment here was much better. After that, I politely declined the maids that Tianbao Pavilion sent over. From then on, I began my life here. I quietly waited for the fleet's next voyage. I thought it wouldn't be long, but unexpectedly a catastrophe struck, making that day seem far away. The wind calamity had arrived. Everyone ran and screamed in terror. "Hurry, get back! The wind calamity is coming! Immortal Master, protect us! Immortal Master, protect us! Mom, where are you? The wind calamity is here!" Li Fan, who was meditating, suddenly snapped his eyes open. He rushed out of the room. Outside, a violent storm raged as seawater and whirlwinds surged inland, sweeping away the houses. A voice boomed from above. "The island protecting Grand Formation is active. Do not be afraid. Stay inside your homes. Do not go outside." The people knelt and bowed in immense gratitude. The Immortal Master is merciful. Meanwhile, Li Fan stood with his head tilted back, watching in awe. He saw the island-protecting Grand Formation glowing with the flowing blue light. Talismans flickered in and out of sight, looking incredibly mystical. At the same time, he thought to himself about that earlier sound like the wailing of ghosts. Even the rain was held back by the barrier of light. He observed closely outside the wind, and rain raged, but inside it was perfectly calm. So this is the power of the Immortals. As Li Fan thought this, his eyes widened and his brows furrowed. Suddenly, a barrage of lightning struck from the sky, but it was blocked by the shield. He fell to his knees, coughing up a large mouthful of blood. This is yin attracting heavenly thunder for it to have such power just from striking the Grand Formation. Li Fan pushed himself up with one hand and looked up. "What? There's more!" Outside, lightning continued to crash down, and the sea churned like a savage beast. The island now resembled a black hole. It was pulling in both the seawater and the lightning, forcing them to converge. Li Fan shot to his feet in disbelief. Is my life going to end here? Fortunately, the Grand Formation was more reliable than I imagined, holding firm without shattering. An unknown amount of time passed like this before the massive waves gradually subsided. But they had only subsided. The wind calamity comes quickly but leaves slowly. In the wind and rain, it was impossible to distinguish day from night. I felt like 2 or 3 days had passed before this calamity finally receded. According to the islanders, this wind calamity was actually relatively small. The one 15 years ago was several times more powerful than this one. At that time, the island protecting Grand Formation nearly failed and was forced to shrink its area of protection after the wind calamity passed. The area of Liu Li Island was reduced to only 1/3 of its former size, more than 10 years after that wind calamity. Liu Li Island had to gather refugees from all over just to slowly recover its vitality. So this is a wind calamity. The power of heaven and earth is truly terrifying. A few days later, all residents of Liu Li Island received a directive requiring every household to check for damage to the Grand Formation. The inspection method was simple. The Liu Li estate would distribute a spirit talisman. All one had to do was keep it in their house for a few days and watch to see if any red light emerged. A hazy figure reached out and spoke. The island protecting Grand Formation has 367,800 points. We must ensure there are no abnormalities in any of them. As the manager placed the talisman high up, it emitted a dazzling blue light. By the will of the Immortal Master and for the sake of their own lives, all affairs on Liuli Island were put on hold to prioritize the maintenance of the Grand Formation. Normally, the Immortal Master would oversee the inspection and repair of the Grand Formation, but this time, I heard the Spirit Stones that keep the formation running are nearly depleted. Therefore, the Immortal Master has returned to Myriad Immortals Island to get more Spirit Stones. The Grand Formation's self-check. 360 flashes of the talisman completes a minor cycle. 360 minor cycles complete a major cycle. As long as within one major cycle, no red light appears, it means there's nothing wrong with the formation. Li Fan rested his chin on his hand, looking at the talisman and thinking, this island-protecting Grand Formation is so vast. And yet so intricate. It's hard to imagine how it was ever built. 5 days later, the results came in letting everyone on the island breathe a sigh of relief. The island-protecting Grand Formation was undamaged. With the Immortal Master's return, the island's residents could finally rest easy. Life on Glazed Island gradually returned to normal. A few months later, refugees from other islands occasionally arrived seeking shelter, but these lucky survivors were few and far between. Most of their island's inhabitants had perished in the recent disaster. The Pine Cloud Sea was vast and boundless, with countless islands of all sizes. Only a few islands with special resources had an Immortal Master watching over them. For the past few months, Li Fan hadn't been idle either. He diligently cultivated the Xuan Huang Clear Heart incantation every day, and finally saw some results. The limits of his physiological and psychological age increased once more, though not by much. Still, it was enough to lift his spirits, and so another month passed. Finally, Li Fan received the news he'd been waiting for. Steward Zhao sent a messenger to inform him that the wind calamity in the Pine Cloud Sea had completely subsided. The next fleet's departure was imminent. 3 days later, in the Glazed Island harbor, Li Fan stood below observing the ship. He thought to himself, so this must be it. The Shangyuan, the ship Steward Zhao, told me to find. Just as he stepped aboard, he overheard 2 crewmen complaining, I don't know what's gotten into the island master wanting to hold some kind of test. This time, the fleet with the smallest harvest will be deemed a failure, and they'll lose their sailing rights for good. What are we going to do? The other man sighed in response. Don't even talk about it. It's all because of that wind calamity. I heard the protective formation on Coral Island to the south was destroyed. The entire island was flattened, and now the tribute that Coral Island was supposed to deliver has fallen on our Glazed Island's shoulders. A crowd of people were wringing their hands in a state of utter chaos. What's going on? How are we supposed to live now? I heard it's only temporary. We just have to make up for the previous shortfall. A tall man walked over and shouted, Look at you, pathetic lot. Why don't you think about the bright side? Zhang Haoba crossed his arms, tilting his head to look at them. Doesn't that mean there's also a reward for first place? The share of the harvest is being raised from 30% to 50%. They slumped over dejectedly and replied, Boss, stop dreaming. First place with our fishing skills. You know how we are. We barely manage to meet the quota every time. That's right. In my opinion, this will be our last time out at sea. We might as well not come back and just become carefree pirates. Wouldn't that be great? He suddenly smiled. Don't worry, this time we have a real talent on board. Haoba unexpectedly extended his hand towards Li Fan. I guarantee everyone will return with their pockets full. The crowd looked at him in disbelief and asked, Him, he's so fair-skinned. Has he ever even been to sea? Haoba suddenly shouted, cutting them off. You blind fools, can't you recognize a distinguished guest? This man is a great talent, specially invited by Steward Zhao. He'll be taking over this ship soon. Our ship, so show some respect. They immediately protested. Boss, you've been the captain of the Shangyuan for almost 15 years. How can you just hand it over like that? Exactly. Boss, you saved my life. If you're trying to get rid of him, I, Liu San, will be the first to disagree. Haoba said nothing, just lowered his head and grunted softly. The others, still angry, shouted even louder. Why don't we wait until we're out at sea and throw him overboard to feed the fish? After all, it's perfectly normal for someone to die at sea. Only then did he hold out his hands to calm them. Settle down, everyone, settle down. Although I know you all think highly of me, Zhang Haoba, what can I say? The Shangyuan belongs to Steward Zhao. We're just selling our lives to work for him. The more he spoke, the redder their eyes became. Now that Steward Zhao wants to replace me, there's nothing I can do. Li Fan snorted coldly, thinking to himself, what an act. He placed one hand forward and spoke loudly. Gentlemen, if you don't trust me, are you suggesting that Steward Zhao made a mistake? Since I have promised Steward Zhao that I can find treasure on every voyage, I will certainly not let you down. Hearing this, the crowd wavered a little. Could this kid really have some skills? Maybe. It must be true. Steward Zhao's judgment is incredible. He's basically never been wrong. Haoba, who had been pleased just moments ago, was now trembling with rage. He suddenly roared, What do you mean find treasure on every voyage? I don't believe it. You clearly used your connections to steal my position as captain. You think I don't know what's going on? Haoba turned around, pointed a hand high, and yelled, In any case, the words have been spoken. I want to see just how you're going to handle this set sail. The Shangyuan moved without wind, steering out of the harbor and towards the open sea, needing neither wind nor manpower. Instead, it relied on a miniature formation array controlled by spirit stones. The ship also had a spirit guide. When it detected traces of glazed fish in the surrounding waters, the spirit guide would give a signal. But the sea was vast and the spirit guide's detection range was limited. Therefore, it required a crew with extensive experience to find the general area where schools of fish appeared. However, with the violent wind calamity causing the fish schools to migrate, all previous experience was useless. They could only search for a needle in a haystack and rely on luck. And it seemed the Shangyuan's luck wasn't very good. More than half a month had passed. Aside from catching a few common fish and finding some ordinary sea minerals, they had no major harvest. Not only were the crew members grim-faced and worried, even Zhang Haoba was getting anxious. Whatever, there's a penalty for finishing last this season anyway. Haoba crossed his arms, looking up at the sky. The island's rule is we have to be back in a month, and this time, this is all we've managed to find. This might really be the smallest haul ever. I just hope we get a chance to turn things around in the next few days. May the ancestors protect us. He saw Li Fan walking out from inside. He spoke up first. Well, look who finally decided to come out of his cabin. If you didn't come out for food every day, I would have thought you died in there. He paid him no mind and immediately made a request. I need a small boat. I've seen the treasure. Hearing this, the whole crew, it was stunned, shouting in unison, What? Haoba, in disbelief, pointed straight at Li Fan's face and yelled, You've got to be kidding me. He calmly continued, Quickly prepare a small boat for me. I can see jewels deep under the sea, shimmering, waiting for me to retrieve them. Li Fan suddenly lowered his head, his voice deep and thoughtful. The opportunity will be gone in a flash. The light of the true treasure is already dimming. I'm about to lose its position. Haoba, alarmed, quickly pointed and ordered, Quick, quick, prepare the boat. Two men, startled, replied, Yes, sir. Li Fan was given a small boat as requested. None of you are to come over here. Wait for my signal. The men on the ship all asked in unison, Why? Holding the oar, he replied calmly, You're all too noisy. It'll easily break my line of sight. Hearing Li Fan's answer, the entire crew just stared blankly. Suddenly, a man next to Haoba asked, Boss, what if he's planning to run off on his own? He immediately yelled, What foolishness are you talking about? The sea is vast. He's alone and didn't bring any food. Where could he possibly run to? After 4 hours, the sky was pitch black when a signal flare shot up. It's the signal, steer the ship over there quickly. When the ship reached the spot, Li Fan pointed down at the sea and said, The treasure is here. Haoba turned around and hurriedly commanded, Get in the water, drop the nets. The men behind him responded in unison, Yes, sir. After a while of hauling things up, he was panting heavily, staring at the pile of jewels before him. Haoba, his face drenched in sweat, said, 16 chests of gold, silver, and treasure. A man ran up overjoyed and said, Boss, Mr. Li wasn't bluffing. He really could let us return with a full ship. He stared blankly at the pile of glittering gold. It was real. That guy. He can really find treasure sunken at the bottom of the sea. This kind of ability. An image of two people appeared in Haoba's mind. A gifted person just like Manager Zhao. Zhang Haoba, oh Zhang Haoba, you rarely get the chance to meet such a benefactor. And not only did you fail to seize the opportunity, and you ridiculously thought he was here to rob your tiny fleet. He walked to the edge of the ship, looked at Li Fan, and thought to himself, This won't do. I have to go apologize immediately. Li Fan was swinging on a rope skimming over the water's surface. As soon as he got on board, Zhang Haoba clasped his hands and apologized. With a pleasant expression, he sent him away. So Li Fan went back to his room to rest. Having obtained the treasure, the Shangyuan no longer bothered with fishing and immediately turned the ship around to head back to Liuli Island. After all, with such a massive haul this time, the entire crew wouldn't feel at ease for a single day until they were safely back on the island. Zhang Haoba instructed later, "Don't dock at the shore just yet. Liu San, you sneak into the water. Go inform Manager Zhao and tell him to personally send people to count it. If nothing unexpected happens, our fleet's haul should be the largest this time. According to the rules, we get to split 50%. If outsiders count, things will inevitably be missed. If it's not our own people, I can't rest easy." The crowd roared, "The boss is right. We'd be heartbroken if even one piece went missing." After waiting for some time, the Shangyuan docked by the shore. The counting staff was immediately blocked by Zhang Haoba and a group of crewmen. That group of staff members criticized Zhang Haoba. "What's the meaning of this, not letting us on board to count, looking at your ship's waterline? I'm afraid you're coming back empty-handed this time, aren't you? Looks like this captaincy of yours is coming to an end." A crew member grew agitated. "What did you say?" Zhang Haoba stopped him. "No need to argue with him." Li Fan stood behind them. "It seems this Zhang Haoba has what it takes to hold his position as the captain of the Shangyuan for a reason." He hesitated. "It's just that his background and experience have limited him." Very quickly, Manager Zhao personally led his people over. With that, 16 chests of jewels were transported off the ship in front of everyone. The entire port was in an uproar. The news that the Shangyuan had found a huge treasure spread like wildfire, quickly reaching every corner of Liuli Island. Sun Jiang burst in shouting, "Shopkeeper, shopkeeper!" She was curious. "What's wrong? Why the rush?" He was panting. "Treasure, more than 10 chests. The Shangyuan." The shopkeeper was indifferent. "Isn't it just a dozen or so chests of treasure? What's so alarming about that? They'll need to spend some of it on the island, so won't they still have to go through our Tianbao pavilion?" The shopkeeper was startled. "Wait a minute. Did you say the Shangyuan? Is that the ship that Uncle Li Fan is on?" Sun Jiang, still out of breath, replied, "That's right." No wonder that guy was able to convince Manager Zhao. He was so certain he could find treasure just by going out to sea. That kind of ability is exactly like the head shopkeeper of our Tianbao pavilion. The shopkeeper's voice turned cold. "Go and arrange a time to invite him for a meal. Also have someone clean up the Tingyu pavilion. Then give him the deed to it." Sun Jiang clasped his hands. "Yes, ma'am." She mused. Could he be a spirit-guiding treasure physique? The legendary physique that can sense precious artifacts whenever they exist within a certain range. Her boss, the head shopkeeper of Tianbao Pavilion, Yin Yueting, has this exact special constitution. It was also by relying on this heaven-defying ability that in just over 10 years he built the Tianbao Pavilion, a great merchant guild that spans the Kongyun Sea from nothing. And now a spirit-guiding treasure physique has appeared in Manager Zhao's residence. He smirked slightly. "You truly are extraordinary. To find 16 crates of treasure on your first trip out to sea? You've given me quite a surprise." Li Fan replied, "This harvest was indeed substantial, but I'm afraid it will be difficult to get this much again in the future." He remained silent, not refuting it. That was to be expected. How could one be so lucky every single time? But based on this harvest alone, it's enough for me to operate a private fleet just for you. He bowed his head in acceptance. "In that case, my thanks to you, Manager Zhao." Manager Zhao's voice turned cold. "I hear you've been scheming so diligently." "'Cause you seek a spot in the body-purifying spirit pool," Li Fan replied. "That is correct. Even with endless treasures, after 100 years, one still turns to dust. Only by seeking the immortal path and attaining long life can one say they haven't wasted their time in this world." Manager Zhao stroked his chin. "For someone your age, to still have the heart to seek immortality, I am not your equal." Over 10 years ago, when he was Li Fan's age, he happened to save an immortal master. The immortal master asked if he was willing to follow him and cultivate. "I knew I was already past the best age for cultivation. Even if I did cultivate, there was no guarantee of success. Besides, the older one gets, the deeper the worldly chi in the body becomes, and the more painful it is to purge. Now that I'm getting older, I'm starting to have some regrets. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. Among the hundreds of thousands of mortals on Glazed Isle, people like you are truly a minority. Li Fan bowed. You flatter me. I wonder, manager, about the 1 million spots in the body-purifying spirit pool. The manager hesitated. This is something I cannot help you with. The opening of the body-purifying spirit pool requires the immortal master on the island to preside over it, and the spots are also decided by the immortal master. A year before the spirit pool opens, the Immortal Masters Association will announce the necessary materials. Various houses will collect the items on the list and hand them in. The spots are then decided based on the value of their contributions. But you don't need to worry. The Tianbao Pavilion has branches in all the island regions of the Kongyun Sea. When it comes to the ability to gather materials, there aren't many who can surpass our Tianbao Pavilion. Hearing this, Li Fan fell into thought, inevitably thinking of the female shopkeeper. He muttered to himself, Tianbao Pavilion. Just as Li Fan returned to his small courtyard from Manager Zhao's residence, Sun Zhong had already come to his door, clearly having waited for a long time. Your shopkeeper is looking for me. Li Fan was also planning to meet the shopkeeper, so he agreed. As for the deed to the Tingyu Pavilion that Sun Zhong brought, Li Fan did not accept it. He walked forward amidst the respectful gazes of the crowd. The lavishly dressed shopkeeper approached Li Fan and formally introduced herself, Yin Yuzhen, shopkeeper of the Tianbao Pavilion on Glazed Isle. Li Fan's face was serious as he introduced himself, Li Fan. She let out a chuckle. Mister, you're certainly a man of few words. He gave a modest, light laugh. Yuzhen continued, a mere mortal really isn't worth mentioning at all. A spirit-guiding treasure physique, Li Fan interjected, is also not worth mentioning in your eyes, mister. Yuzhen feigned surprise. Oh, what spirit-guiding treasure physique? I have no idea. He exposed her lie. Then how did you find the location of the treasure in the vast, boundless sea? Yuzhen puffed her cheeks and thought to herself, it was just a feeling. Seeing her expression, Li Fan understood immediately. And you still say you're not a spirit-guiding treasure physique? Then Yin Yuzhen looked at him as if he genuinely didn't know. Li Fan voiced his question. He had no choice but to tell her what he knew about the spirit-guiding treasure physique. So you're saying, your sister is also a spirit-guiding treasure physique. How old is she this year? What does she look like? Where was she 25 years ago, and where is she now? The shopkeeper asked, stunned. Don't tell me you're our long-lost father. She looked him up and down. No, that's not right. You don't look anything like us. Li Fan replied, I'm just curious. The shopkeeper said impatiently, All right. Curiosity about your own kind, right? I understand. She recalled her childhood. We were originally from Yellen Island in the north. Our parents passed away in a disaster when we were young, leaving just me and my sister to fend for ourselves. The shopkeeper reminisced about the past. In my memory, my sister and I could only survive by begging day after day, never knowing where our next meal would come from. She recounted with pride, but I don't know when it started. My sister could always find all sorts of valuable things in different places. Because of that, our lives got better and better. Later, my sister single-handedly founded the Tianbao Pavilion. The shopkeeper's expression turned sad for a moment. The unfortunate thing is, I haven't seen my sister in many years. He casually asked, where did she go? She thought back to the past. 3 years ago, she was noticed by a passing immortal master and taken away. The shopkeeper remembered her sister's letters. At first, she still had people deliver messages to us to let us know she was safe. She said pensively, but after that, we never heard from her again. Hearing this, Li Fan probed, taken away by an immortal master. Could it be that she was taken to cultivate immortality? The shopkeeper added more about the letters. If that were really the case, it would be wonderful. In the letters my sister sent back before she used a code that only the two of us understood, she told me her current situation was very dangerous. If she stopped contacting me, it meant something bad had happened to her, and she told me not to look for her. He asked curiously, could it be that her special physique brought her disaster? She continued, my sister is just a mortal. She can only sense things that are of some value to mortals. These treasures are like scrap metal in the eyes of those immortal masters. The shopkeeper said thoughtfully, "It's not like immortal masters hadn't discovered my sister's special physique before, but they all thought nothing of it. I don't know why that last immortal master took her away." She looked up at the sky and said, "Although my sister's chances are slim, the legacy she left behind still remains. I can't let the Tianbao pavilion she worked so hard to build be destroyed in my hands." The shopkeeper was uneasy. She said, "I don't have my sister's miraculous skills." After she disappeared, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's business got worse day by day. On top of that, I later misjudged a few items. Suffering another huge loss, she broke down and continued. "The elders of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion grew dissatisfied with me. They even wanted to team up with outsiders to kick me out and divide the pavilion's assets." The shopkeeper explained her reason for coming. Luckily, they were still wary of the fact that my sister was taken away by an immortal master, so they never made a move. That's why I used the excuse of expanding the market from Nightjade Island to come here to Glazed Glass Island. "It was a way to escape for a while," she explained her plan. "I originally intended to develop my business here for a few years, build up some strength, and then settle the score with them. But I never expected that I would meet a spirit-connecting treasure body on this Glazed Glass Island." The shopkeeper expressed her wish. "With your help, I can definitely manage the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion." Li Fan tactfully refused. "I have no interest in the affairs of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. My only wish is to cultivate." Li Fan reiterated their old agreement. "You people promised before that as long as I help you get the fleet, you would help me get a spot in the body-purifying spirit pool. You're not going back on your word, are you?" she said smugly. "We at the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion have always kept our word in business. What we promised you will definitely be done." "But," he asked cautiously. The shopkeeper turned her face away. "Uncle, even if you can enter the body-purifying spirit pool, so what? Eliminating the turbid chi in your body isn't easy. Of all the people who enter the spirit pool each year, only about half succeed. And the older you are, the higher the failure rate." She continued, "You're not young anymore, Uncle. Are you 100% sure you can succeed? Everyone only gets one chance in their lifetime to enter the spirit pool. If you fail, I'm afraid you'll have to say goodbye to cultivation forever." Li Fan probed, "Even if it's only a 50% success rate." "It's enough for me to try, but from the sound of it." The shopkeeper looked at him, nodded, and chuckled softly. "That's right." She revealed, "Along with my sister's last letter, there was a medicinal pill called the dust-departing pill. According to her letter, just by taking this pill, the success rate of eliminating the turbid chi in your body will increase. If used in conjunction with the body-purifying spirit pool, even at your age, Uncle, the chance of success is very high." Li Fan was skeptical. "There's such a miraculous pill. Why haven't you taken it?" The shopkeeper explained. "Uncle, not everyone is like you wholeheartedly wanting to cultivate. My wish is to run the business well and protect the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion my sister left behind." He nodded in agreement. To each their own," she asked excitedly. "So, Uncle, does that mean you agree?" Li Fan turned his back and walked away. "Let me go back and think about it. I'll give you an answer in 3 days." The shopkeeper complied. "All right then, Uncle, I'll be waiting for your news." His voice echoed back, "Farewell." She clenched her fists. "I hope I haven't misjudged him this time." Li Fan recounted, "After some investigation, I confirmed that Yin Yu Chen wasn't lying about the dust-departing pill. 3 days later, I met with Yin Yu Chen again and agreed to her request. We discussed that for a period of time before the spirit pool opens, I must help the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion and acquire a certain amount of treasures. When the spirit pool opens, Yin Yu Chen will give me the dust-departing pill. To show her sincerity, she took out the deed to the Whispering Pavilion. Since we both have an agreement, I won't be polite. I put it in my pouch, and so I moved house once again. The Whispering Pavilion is located in the central area of Glazed Glass Island. Although it's in the market, it feels like it's deep in the mountains." He thought about the gold he had earned. "In 1 year at the Whispering Pavilion, I completed 3 sea voyages for Glazed Glass Island. Each time I brought back several chests of treasure, shaking the entire island. At the same time, I also successfully won a fleet for the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion." Li Fan recalled his achievements. "After that, every time the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's fleet went out to sea, I went with them. This past year, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion has earned a lot, almost as much as the total income of the previous 5 years. And I have also built up my prestige among the people of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Everyone I meet respects me. On the other hand, I haven't neglected my cultivation. This past year, whenever I had free time, I would train hard. The profound yellow serene heart incantation. Finally, something happened that made me happy. The energy replenishment progress of the true return has sped up. As for the enhancement progress before that, the energy replenishment progress of the true return could only increase naturally over time. After reaching 100%, it slowly increased to a limit of 200%, and then it stopped increasing. I've been in this cultivation world for over a year. Based on the previous pattern, the energy replenishment progress should be at 6 to 7%. But I discovered the energy replenishment progress has reached 15%. The replenishment speed has nearly doubled. He trained day after day. Other than the serene heart incantation, I haven't come into contact with anything that could help. The only possible explanation is, that cultivating the profound yellow serene heart incantation can increase the energy replenishment progress of the true return. The parameters gradually increased. Besides the energy replenishment progress, the limits of my physiological age and psychological age have also increased quite a bit. The two chatted. Li Fan thought, time passes so quickly in cultivation. The opening of the body-purifying spirit pool is probably only a year away. The shopkeeper smiled brightly. Uncle Glazed Glass Island has announced the list of materials the Immortal Master needs this time. Zunjiang looked in the list of materials and said, the materials needed this time are all very common, except for this Star Sea flowing sand. I've never heard of it. It seems this is the key to competing for the spot this time. Regarding this starlight quicksand, Vuchan continued, I've never heard of such a thing either. Looks like I'll have to ask someone from the 10,000 Flowers Trading Guild. He frowned worried. These people are like reincarnated starving ghosts. I'm afraid this is going to cost me a fortune. Li Fan was determined. No matter what, I have to get that starlight quicksand. I must obtain the spirit pool. He thought to himself, the 10,000 Flowers Trading Guild isn't a local guild from the Pine Cloud Sea. They come from a continent tens of thousands of miles away. I heard they have the backing of an immortal master, which is why they can easily cross the endless sea to do business on this remote glazed island. She read the name of the traveling merchant and said, we have 1 year to prepare. The traveling merchant from the 10,000 Flowers Trading Guild will pass through the Pine Cloud Sea in 3 months. I can contact him then. Lai Fam shook his head. We can't pin all our hopes on the 10,000 Flowers Trading Guild for the next year. Glazed Island has taken in quite a few refugees from all over the Pine Cloud Sea. It's possible someone among them is familiar with this starlight quicksand. I can ask around. The other factions on the island must also be looking for this starlight quicksand. I'll need to keep a closer watch on them. He recounted what he had learned. The materials needed for the body-cleansing spirit pool have been announced. This news has spread across Glazed Island, even reaching some ordinary people who usually don't care about these things. Everyone knows about the major factions on this island are searching for something called Starlight Quicksand. And thinking of today's meeting, Tu Hang suddenly arrived at the listening pavilion. Lai Fam invited him in. I wonder what brings you to see me, little brother, Tu Hang asked. I heard that recently. Old brother Lai is also looking for Starlight Quicksand. He nodded. That's right. I'm getting old. If I want to cultivate, my only hope is the body-cleansing spirit pool. How do you know about this? He smiled and replied, back when the Immortal Master descended upon the Dailai, he promised that as long as we gathered the materials he needed, he would take a group of us to the cultivation world. Starlight Quicksand was on that list. Lai Fam grew wary. Oh, why don't I recall that? Tu Hang scratched his head and said, back when the public announcement was made. The list was shortened. Some items were considered reserved spots divided among the great families of Dai Li. The share given to the mansion of the prince who pacifies the south. The item I was tasked to find was this very Starlight Quicksand. He held out a hand. Name your price. What are your conditions? The young man expressed his feelings. You paid for Trong Ngok's burial expenses before, which was a great kindness to me. I really shouldn't be doing this. But life on this glazed island is just too difficult. I don't have great skills like old brother Lai, and I'm still living in the slums. Lai Fam cut him off. Little brother, say no more. I understand your difficulties, and I absolutely must have this item. As long as you can provide a clue, just state your request. I will do my best to fulfill it. Hearing this, Tiu Hong clasped his hands in thanks. Then I thank you in advance, old brother. He said, actually, this item isn't rare. It's just that the Immortal Master's name for it is different from what we mortals call it. In truth, Starlight Quicksand is just a meteorite from the sky. He stroked his beard, processing this. Starlight Quicksand, so that's what it is. But is any meteorite acceptable? Are there any other special requirements? Tu Hang replied, of course there are, old brother. Lei Fam recalled how Tu Hang then slowly laid out the specific requirements. First, the meteorite's appearance must be good. A surface with pits and bumps won't do. Next, the total weight of a single piece must be at least 50 grams. As he listened, he committed it all to memory. He smiled. All right, I understand. Tell me, little brother, what do you want? He made his request. I just want a slightly better place to live, plus a somewhat easy job. That's all. Of course, if I could have a few servants to help me clean up, that would be even better. Lai Fam laughed heartily. The dignified son of the prince who pacifies the south. And this is all you ask for. Why not add a little more? I still have some influence at the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Tu Hang shook his head, declining. I know my own abilities. Being able to eat well and live well is enough. I don't need to live such a tiring life. He was already very satisfied. If I suddenly came into a fortune that would make others green with envy, it would more likely lead to disaster. He thought of the young man's appearance as he left. I didn't insist. After Tu Hang chatted with me for a bit more, he took his leave. Lai Fam asked him if he had any plans to cultivate. After all, it was such a struggle to get to this cultivation world. You can't let the journey be for nothing, right? Tu Hong waved his hand dismissively. Forget it. I really have no interest in cultivation. That Zhuan Huang heart-cleansing mantra makes me sleepy just looking at it. He ended the conversation and saw Tu Hong off. I went straight to the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. After hearing what Lai Fam said, Vu Chan was a bit skeptical. Starlight Quicksand is just a meteorite. Is it that simple? Li Fam replied. He's probably not lying, but we still need to verify it. He laid out his plan. Didn't you say that the traveling merchant from the 10,000 Flowers Trading Guild will be here soon? May will be arriving at Glazed Island. Why don't we use that opportunity to find out the truth from him? She immediately agreed. That's a good idea. It would be best if we could save some money. Li Fam calculated no matter what. One should still secretly buy up meteorites that fit the requirements first. Right now, not many people know about this. Soon that might not be the case. He considered each step. Furthermore, when we buy them, we must buy them along with other things to conceal our true intentions. At the same time, we can have people spread false rumors about Starlight Quicksand on the market. Vuchan said admiringly, Mister, you're incredible. I used to think you were just a spirit-connecting treasure body, but I never imagined you could think of everything. A flawless plan. She asked curiously, Mister, what did you do before? Li Fan answered casually, I just taught people their studies, that's all. Hearing him say that, Vuchan puffed out her cheeks. I don't believe you. Li Fan gave her some instructions and then left. All right, I'm leaving this matter to you. I have to go cultivate. Unless it's something urgent, don't disturb me. Oh, right. You should also handle the promise I made to Xiao Heng. She wondered, great fortune? How can even a small thing, like helping Xiao Heng, be considered great fortune? Has my ability to sense fortune and misfortune lost its touch? Vu Chan thought, even though I can't sense treasures like my sister, I've been able to predict good and bad fortune since I was young. And ever since I met the mister, every task he's given me. Yay. My premonition has always shown great fortune. She made a resolution. Before I met the mister, I'd never once encountered an event of great fortune. Although I don't know what the future holds for the mister or what achievements he'll have. But I trust my intuition. I have to do everything I can to help him. After that, everything went according to plan. Thus, the Tianbao Pavilion, under the direction of An Vu Chan, operated at full capacity. The Tianbao Pavilion released a large amount of false information about the Star Sea drifting sand. The other factions were skeptical, but they all chose to wait and see first. Everything went smoothly, but one faction had the idea to buy first and think later. Even if it was fake, they could resell it. Because of this, the other factions could no longer sit still. They joined the buying frenzy. For a time, prices on Luli Island skyrocketed, creating chaos. Meanwhile, he was calmly cultivating. I'm the one who started all this. Yet I just quietly cultivate in the Tingyu Pavilion. A small boat sailed on the sea. After 3 months, An Vuchan finally contacted the agent from the Tianhe Chamber of Commerce. Vuchan and Li Fan were on the boat. This morning, An Vuchan and I took a small boat from the Tianbao Pavilion and left Luli Island, heading 10 miles north to the sea where both parties had agreed to meet. A flying ship appeared in the sky above them. A loud laugh rang out. Manager and long time no see. The two ships, one large and one small, moved in parallel. The flying ship came to a stop above us, then slowly landed on the water surface. Vuchan turned to look at Li Fan, thinking to herself, it's his first time seeing a flying ship. He must be startled, right? Seeing that he was still calm, she felt a little annoyed. What the? No reaction at all. The agent came over to greet them. Manager and long time no see. Vuchan replied, Agent Wu, the last time we met was 3 years ago. Has it been? He extended his hand. Time really flies. And this is... She introduced, this is an elder from our Tianbao Pavilion. Hearing this, the agent clasped his hands in greeting. A pleasure, manager, and let's go see the goods first. I'm afraid that after this time, it will be very difficult for us to meet again. Vuchan asked worriedly, What do you mean by that? Did something happen? He shrugged and said, I don't know the specific reason myself. It's just that a few days ago we suddenly received a notice from headquarters for all Chamber of Commerce agents in the Songyun Sea to suspend all business at hand and return quickly. The agent looked troubled. If I hadn't already scheduled this transaction with you, I'd probably be on my way back by now. Therefore, this transaction cannot be delayed. We must be quick. She thought worriedly. The reason the Tianbao Pavilion could grow so large on Luli Island is because we have the Manhwa Chamber of Commerce backing us. Now that the Manhwa Chamber of Commerce is suddenly pulling out of the Songyun Sea, what will happen to the Tianbao Pavilion's future business? Why didn't my ability to sense fortune and misfortune give me any warning this time? Seeing Vuchan standing motionless and silent, he called out, Manager An. She was startled. Sorry, I zoned out. Let's go see the goods now. Please come this way. They entered the ship's hold. I led Agent Wu past the various goods. As Li Fan walked, he introduced them 16 pairs of jade discs coral, 23 items, 46 luminous pearls. Reaching the meteorites, he said, 3 pieces of star sea drifting sand. Hearing star sea drifting sand, the agent was startled. What? Let me see. He lifted a piece of star sea drifting sand. It's so light. This surprised Li Fan. These meteorites weigh at least 50 grams each, but in his hands they feel like toys. The agent slowly put the meteorite down and praised, Excellent, excellent, excellent. He turned and said, Manager, and you were really lucky this time to have acquired something as good as star sea drifting sand. He and Vuchan looked at each other thinking, we can confirm that Xiao Heng wasn't wrong. Afterward, the 3 of them went aboard the large ship. Agent Wu was very satisfied with this batch of goods. Since the 2 parties wouldn't be able to meet for a long time, he specially invited the 2 of us to be guests on the Manhwa Chamber of Commerce's flying ship. After we had eaten and drunk our fill, Agent Wu led us into the flying ship's storeroom. The agent pointed to a pile of items in the middle and boasted, These are all things I've collected from the various islands in the Songyun Sea. Some are priceless, while for others I'm not even sure of their use. I just bought them on a whim because they looked rare. If you 2 are interested, you can pick a few items from here. Her eyes lit up. Oh my God. With my ability to sense fortune and misfortune, being here is like a mouse falling into a rice jar. Li Fan sighed. They're all just mundane treasures, nothing interesting. But seeing her eager expression, he thought, well, I might as well browse with her. He smiled and said, You only have the time it takes for 1 incense stick to burn, though. Vuchan sat down in front of a pile of jewelry and said, Mister, look at this jade bracelet. It's so beautiful. He nodded. The material isn't bad. Li Fan picked up a piece of jade, thinking, 300 years of reincarnation. I have no interest in any of these mundane treasures. As long as it's not related to cultivation, I couldn't care less. Suddenly, his expression changed. The system panel appeared item detected that can replenish energy. The worldly wonder, the ocean pearl, is low on energy. Do you wish to replenish it? Li Fan was stunned. Another worldly wonder, and it's a worldly wonder that's still in its nurturing phase, not yet fully formed. He put it back. No, that won't do. I can't show that I'm too excited. I'll leave it there for now. Li Fan continued to stroll with her, pretending to be uninterested in the surrounding items, right up until Wu Xing Tu made his announcement. I didn't glance at that ocean pearl even once the entire time. Just then, Wu Zhen, holding a scroll, looked at him and asked, Aren't you going to pick a few items, mister? It's rare for shopkeeper Fang to be this generous. Miss this chance and you won't get another. At that moment, Xing Tu came over, clapped him on the shoulder, and said, Shopkeeper, Anne is right. How can one enter a mountain of treasures and return empty-handed? Isn't that looking down on me, Wu? Go on, pick something else. Li Fan replied, In that case, I'll take your advice. He pointed at 2 treasures. I'll take these 2. The man laughed heartily. Elder Zhang, you truly have a keen eye. I found this ancient jade tree statue on a deserted island north of the Pine Cloud Sea. This jade statue was worshipped by a primitive tribe on the island. Worshipped for several thousand years, it's quite miraculous. It has the effect of calming the mind, focusing the spirit, and strengthening the body. Li Fan then picked up the pearl and asked, So what about this one? Xing Tu was taken aback. This one I got it from a fisherman on Flowing Cloud Island. He looked at the pearl and thought to himself, Flowing Cloud Island. After that, the 2 parties went their separate ways. The transaction concluded. The Tianhua Merchant Guild received a batch of true treasures, while An Wujin received a large amount of gold-silver and a few precious items. But she didn't seem very happy on the way back. Although An Wujin had gained a lot this time, she couldn't hide the sorrow on her face. Li Fan asked, Are you worried about the future of the Tianbao Pavilion? Wujin replied dejectedly, Yes, without the 10,000 Flowers Guild, we've lost an important sales channel. I don't know why. The 10,000 Flowers Guild suddenly withdrew from the Pine Cloud Sea. He looked towards the island and said, We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You don't need to worry too much. Night fell, and darkness descended upon Glazed Island. I immediately returned to the Tingyu Pavilion. Li Fan looked at the pearl in his hand. This whole thing was originally just to verify whether the Starlight Quicksand was a meteorite or not. I never expected to obtain this treasure. What a pleasant surprise. He stared at it, speculating, I just don't know what's so special about this ocean pearl, this tiny little pearl. Why is it named Ocean? Could it be that it truly contains an entire sea? Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Li Fan wondered, It's not even dawn yet. Who would be disturbing me at this hour? He cautiously drew his knife and walked to the door. Who is it? Zhao Heng's voice came from outside. Brother Li, it's me, Li Fan thought to himself. Xiao Heng. He opened the door and called him in. Little brother, come in and talk. Xiao Heng said urgently, Brother Li, something terrible has happened. The fact that we illegally crossed over from the Li realm has been exposed. Li Fan calmly inquired, Who leaked it? The young man quickly reported, I don't know either, but now everyone on the island knows we aren't natives of the cultivation world, and that we crossed over with the help of the Tianbao Pavilion. I heard the Immortal Master is furious and wants to arrest and deal with all of us. He stroked his beard, thinking of a solution. After a moment, Li Fan reassured him, Don't worry, this isn't a big deal. Xiao Heng asked, puzzled, Why do you say that, Brother Li? He calmly analyzed, If that Immortal Master truly wanted to deal with us, our heads would have been chopped off long ago. Why would he let us find out and discuss countermeasures? As I see it, this isn't aimed at us. The target of the person who spread the rumor is the Tianbao Pavilion. After that, Li Fan met up with Wu Zhen, not explaining too much to Xiao Heng. Li Fan hurried to the Tianbao Pavilion. She told him what she had heard. I also received news. The various powers on the island now know that we were behind the fake Starlight Quicksand. Those who are bitter about it are spreading rumors on the island that the Tianbao Pavilion is secretly helping mortals cross the border. He offered his opinion. They just want us to hand over some of the Starlight Quicksand. After all, we had the first mover advantage and collected more than enough. Let's just give up a portion of it. Let them fight over it amongst themselves. They'll surely start fighting each other soon." They then proceeded with the exchange. 3 days later, the Tianbao Pavilion met with the powers of Glazed Island. They made their demands. The Tianbao Pavilion agreed to hand over a portion of the Starlight Quicksand, but required the other parties to provide materials of equal value in exchange. At the same time, as for how the various houses would divide this Starlight Quicksand, that was for them to decide themselves. The final deal had to guarantee a spot in the body-purifying spirit pool for the Tianbao Pavilion. This wasn't too harsh, so after some discussion, the two sides quickly reached an agreement. The matter quickly calmed down. And so, after paying the price of a few dozen meteorites, the Tianbao Pavilion successfully escaped the vortex of conflict. The young man praised Li Fan enthusiastically. "Brother Li, it's really okay now. As for the rumors..." Within a day, all rumors related to the border crossing on the island vanished without a trace. Not long after, time passed, and the day the spirit pool opened finally arrived. Wu Zhen looked at him and urged excitedly, "Mister, hurry up and take this dust-leaving pill." Li Fan looked at the pill in his hand. Li Fan had been waiting for this day for a very long time. After today, he will eliminate the mortal aura from his body and officially step onto the path of cultivation. Then they went to the formation to take the dust-leaving pill that An Vuchan gave to Li Fan. Under the guidance of a specialist, they entered the formation in the middle of Dao Liu Li. In total, 13 people entered the center of the formation. Besides him, they were all teenagers around 10-something years old. In an instant, a scene of lush green mountains appeared. The environment we were in changed completely from a noisy market to a deep mountain forest surrounded by dense, verdant trees. From a distance, mountain ranges surrounded jagged peaks. Many people walked on a stone path, looking up at the mountaintops hidden in a thick mist, their figures obscured. We climbed the stone steps for 2 hours without rest. The physical condition of these teenagers was extraordinary to be able to climb for so long, and yet they weren't even the slightest bit out of breath. Li Fan, on the other hand, being older, was panting heavily. He could only barely manage to not get left behind. After another hour, they finally reached the summit. We finally reached the summit. The peak was just a small patch of land, and it was a bit crowded with everyone standing there. This mountain was the highest among all the peaks. Looking around, there was a vast sea of clouds. With every gust of wind, the sea of clouds churned occasionally, revealing mountaintops like islands. An immortal-like figure approached and asked, "How is the scenery here?" He was the guardian of Dao Liu Li, known as Immortal Master He. Everyone greeted him in unison. "Greetings, Immortal Master." The young men there praised the scenery, saying it was magnificent, truly worthy of being an immortal's sacred ground. I've never seen such a wondrous sight before. It makes one's heart surge. Immortal Master. He looked up at the sky and said, "When I first came to Dao Liu Li, the height of this mountain was the lowest of all the peaks beneath the sea of clouds." He asked them, "Do you know that the mountains in this world are just like people? They slowly grow taller." One kid, his mouth agape, wondered, "Is that really true? Could it be that these great mountains are living things?" Immortal Master. He gazed into the distance, explaining, "Some mountains may look tall, but their fate is already sealed. They can never take another step forward in their entire existence." He was implying that some people may just be a small mound of dirt now, but they possess boundless potential. Who knows if after thousands of years they might become a pillar that holds up the sky. Immortal Master. He pointed to a mountain and said, "Just like this Shaowei mountain. Before it was small and insignificant, but in just 15 years it can now look down upon the smaller peaks." His voice echoed, "Of course there are far more mountains like these ones beneath the sea of clouds." That can only serve as a backdrop from beginning to end, silently looking up at the peaks above the clouds. Immortal Master. He hinted softly, "A mountain like that, how are you any different?" He looked towards the disciples and spoke. "Today, you are fortunate enough to enter the spirit pool to wash away the mortal aura from your bodies. Whether or not you can step onto the path of immortality, or even have a hope of attaining the great Tao of eternal life, what achievements you will have in the future, all depends on your own destiny." Immortal Master. He continued, "But no matter what happens later, Today you must give it your all. That is all I have to say. You may go." Suddenly, a young man asked, "Immortal Master, may I ask where the body-purifying spirit pool is?" He pointed to the horizon and said, "There." Another one, disbelieving, questioned, "Surely the Immortal Master is joking." "Immortal Master." He just sighed and channeled his power. The one who had just doubted him was now gone. They began to wail as his head flew off. They bowed their heads, begging, "Immortal Master, spare us. We dare not doubt you again. Spare us." "Immortal Master." He gave them a sharp look and instructed them, "This will teach you another lesson. When you step onto the path of cultivation, your judgment is also very important. You must carefully weigh what can be said and what cannot. Don't wait until the day your body perishes and your Tao vanishes to regret it. If I hadn't reminded you today." Only Li Fan remained calm, walked forward, and said politely, "I have learned my lesson." Then he walked to the edge of the cliff. With a straight posture, he stepped off the cliff, with nothing but empty air beneath his feet. His feet landed gently on a magic circle. Li Fan, with a composed demeanor, walked about freely. The people below began to bow to him. Zheng Hao silently assessed him. His mental state is excellent. It's just a pity he's too old. He glanced up at the sky where Li Fan was moving. Zheng Hao spoke up. "He has entered the spirit pool. The first one to enter gets a larger share of the spirit liquid. You all should hurry." His subordinate quickly replied, "Yes, sir." Clouds enveloped him as he rushed into the sea of clouds. The surrounding white clouds continuously gathered towards Li Fan, and in an instant, they formed a white spirit liquid. Inside the spirit liquid, not only did he not feel suffocated, but on the contrary, he felt incredibly warm and comfortable like a fetus in its mother's womb. Li Fan's mind gradually relaxed completely, but then the warmth turned to scorching heat. The heat turned to a boil, and the boiling became like a raging fire roasting him. The searing heat was like molten lava rampaging through his body, tearing and digging at every single nerve. This kind of agony was truly not something a human could endure. Li Fan instinctively wanted to call upon Huan Zhen. He roared, 300 years of desperate searching. Wasn't it all for this very moment, no matter what? I cannot give up. I must cultivate. I want eternal life. The pain was like a knife dismembering Li Fan's soul over and over again, endlessly, eternally, without stopping. His consciousness began to fade. Even at this moment, the obsession in Li Fan's heart made him persevere without activating Huan Zhen. Instinct had taken over for Li Fan. At this moment, the profound yellow clear heart mantra began to operate. His consciousness seemed to have found an anchor. It began to condense and strengthen. Although he was still in an unconscious state, he was like a rock by the sea. Despite the raging storm, he didn't fall. 3 days later, Qin Hao stood on high, lost in thought. Of the 12 who entered, 11 have already come out. 4 succeeded. 7 failed. Now only one person remains in the spirit pool. The older immortal is the more inseparable the immortal-mortal barrier becomes from their flesh and blood, the body. Purification can only be achieved by completely destroying the body. It forces the miasma out and then uses regenerative power to rebuild the body. The pain one must endure is hard to imagine. At his age, to withstand the destruction of the spirit pool for 3 consecutive days, this man's willpower is terrifyingly firm. If he succeeds in purifying his body and cultivates to the foundation establishment stage, it will certainly not be difficult. Even reaching the golden core might be possible. Another 3 days passed. He started to grow more anxious. If I couldn't still sense that his life force was stable, I would have really wanted to rush in and see what on earth was happening. Another 3 days passed. Qin Hao grew even more uneasy. This body purification spirit pool was created by the Eastern Pole celestial sect of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. Logically, it shouldn't fail. Can someone really endure being in there for so long? 9 days passed. The materials maintaining the spirit pool's formation are about to run out. If the formation stops, I can just consider this kid unlucky. It would have nothing to do with me, Qin Hao. But his temperament and willpower are so impressive. If he succeeds, forget it. I'll consider it a gamble. If this kid achieves extraordinary things in the future, this is a portion I secretly set aside for myself. You'd better not let me down, kid. Another 2 days passed. Suddenly, a new star appeared in the sky. Li Fan, with a proud demeanor, gently emerged from the mist. Qin Hao laughed heartily and walked over. Congratulations, young friend. From this day on, you are free from all restraints. You now have a hope for eternal life. He wondered to himself, why is he being so polite and enthusiastic with me? He quickly explained, young friend, you don't know this, but you were in there for 11 days. The materials for this formation ran out long ago. I was the one who invested heavily to add a new portion for you, young friend. After hearing this, Lai Fam couldn't help but be startled. What? Chin Hao explained. You're very surprised, aren't you? Let me tell you, 3 days ago, a system panel suddenly appeared, showing the name Lai Fam. He was astonished. The physiological age limit broke past the 100 mark. What's more outrageous is that the psychological age limit nearly doubled, reaching over 2,000 years. Chin Hao continued. Then on the 9th day, Lai Fam was still immersed in the system panel. And how did the profound yellow pure heart incantation become the profound yellow heart tempering incantation? Now is not the time to look into it. I'll have to study it more carefully later. He spoke up. I will not dare to forget the immortal master's kindness. In the future, I will definitely repay you. He replied, young friend, what are you saying? The path of immortality is fraught with difficulties. I just help with all my strength where I can. After eliminating the miasma, the next step is to sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and guide it into your body. If you can condense even a single strand of spiritual energy inside you, it means you've entered the Qi refining stage. This 5 Spirits Qi Sensing Method Manual is a summary of experiences from our predecessors regarding sensing spiritual energy. You must study it carefully. Also, there's this talisman of worldly detachment. Before you guide the Qi into your body, you need to carry it with you. You still live in the secular world and need to interact with mortals every day. Over time, it's inevitable that you'll be reinfected with miasma. This talisman of worldly detachment can help you ward it off. It protects you from the miasma's corruption. It's just that it's hard to maintain. It can only last for about 5 years. After you break through to the Qi refining stage, you can come find me on the island. At that time, I'll take you to the headquarters of the 10,000 Immortals Gate. We are here in the Pine Cloud Sea, on 10,000 Immortals Island. Chin Hao explained the things to pay attention to during the process of guiding Qi into the body in detail to Lai Fam. After giving all the necessary instructions, he took his leave. Chin Hao said, this mountain's potential has been exhausted. It's time to change to a new one. The technique I cultivate is called the mountain sitting art. The greatest feature of the mountain sitting art is to sit on a mountain and reap its rewards. I choose a mountain, sit on it, and operate the technique. After spending a few years, I can merge my own aura with the mountain. After that, for every bit the mountain grows, my own cultivation base will be nourished, in return receiving a corresponding enhancement. Besides benefiting from the mountain's growth, I can also gain benefits from helping people. For example, by helping Lai Fam this time if he can break through to the Qi refining stage in the future. Then I will receive a return that increases my own cultivation base. It's not about secretly absorbing the other person's cultivation, but it's like the saying, when one person achieves the Tao, their chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. How much I invest determines how much I'll harvest later. That's why, when I meet a junior with great potential, I am never stingy in helping them. He exits the central formation. Without alerting anyone, Lai Fam secretly returned to the Listening to Seclusion Pavilion. He immediately tried to operate the unexpectedly appeared profound yellow heart tempering incantation. As soon as he did, he discovered the difference. Between the heart tempering incantation and the pure heart incantation, practicing the pure heart incantation required half an hour to gradually calm the mind. But once the heart tempering incantation is cast, it only takes a moment. Li Fam felt his heart become as clear as a mirror. At the same time, by practicing the heart-tempering incantation, he could clearly feel his spirit strengthening with each passing moment. But why did the profound yellow pure heart incantation on me turn into this incredibly miraculous profound yellow heart tempering incantation? Immortal arts cannot be cultivated simultaneously. Does this heart-tempering incantation count as a cultivation technique? I wonder. I'm just one step away from crossing the threshold of a cultivator, and I'm overjoyed to have obtained a miraculous technique like the profound yellow heart tempering incantation. Li Fan was feeling a bit elated, but just a few days later, he received a letter. Xiao Heng had successfully achieved Qi induction. He's already arrived at 10,000 Immortals Island. The person on the other side said, "I just want a family home and a simple job, that's all." That startled Li Fan. "What Xiao Heng refused me. I'm not interested in cultivating immortality." Li Fan felt annoyed. In his memory, Xiao Heng's words were as clear as day. How long has it been? And he's already succeeded in dispelling the miasma in his body and broken through directly to the qi refining stage. He read the letter from Xiao Heng over and over again before he could reluctantly accept this reality. It turned out that after Li Fan comforted him that day, Xiao Heng went home still feeling lost and uneasy, unable to sleep. When he closed his eyes, he seemed to see terrifying images of immortal masters descending from the sky, slaughtering all the people of the Li realm. To be able to sleep peacefully, and even more so to become a cultivator. And so he wouldn't have to live in constant fear, he began to seriously practice the Xuan Huang Pure Heart incantation. Unexpectedly, in less than a month, he managed to eliminate all the miasma in his body on his own. After that, he just took a nap and successfully achieved qi induction. When he was trying to get intimate with a maidservant in his house, a gentle hug nearly killed the maidservant. Finally, he confirmed that he had become a cultivator. Immortals and mortals are forever separated. Therefore, after Li Fan left the spirit pool, Xiao Heng met He Zhenghao. At that time, he had cried out, "I used my materials to form a good relationship with that old man. If I had known, I would have saved them until now." This kid's talent is clearly 100 times stronger than that old man's. He Zhenghao confirmed that Xiao Heng wasn't lying, looking extremely regretful, and then led Xiao Heng away. Xiao Heng wrote, "My success today is all thanks to your protection, brother. Now that I've heard you've successfully dispelled the miasma, it surely won't be long before you break through to the qi refining stage. I will go one step ahead and await your esteemed arrival on 10,000 Immortals Island. When we meet again, if you need anything, brother, I will not hesitate even in the face of 10,000 deaths." Li Fan frowned, thinking, is this the legendary peerless genius without relying on any outside help? He managed to break through to the qi refining stage by himself by chance. But so what if he's a peerless genius? What I rely on is the countless chances to start over that the Huan Zhen has given me. With the Huan Zhen in my hand, no matter what kind of genius he is, I'm confident I can crush him. Right now, the most important thing is to achieve qi induction. Let's see about this 5 spirits qi sensing method that He Zhenghao gave me. The book says that in ancient times there was the theory of spirit roots. Back then, only mortals with spirit roots could cultivate. There were the common 5-element spirit roots of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, as well as attribute-based spirit roots like lightning, wind, and darkness. Spirit roots were bestowed by the heavens. Only those fortunate enough to be favored by the heavens could perceive the laws of the world and were qualified to attain the Tao and ascend to immortality. But the number of mortals in the world is immense. Those with spirit roots were a tiny minority. For most people, cultivating immortality was something they could only wish for, not achieve. How unfair was that? Fortunately, in ancient times, there was an immortal venerable who taught the Tao. The immortal venerable, with his divine power, faced countless mortals who hopelessly sought immortality and imparted to them the path of long life. The immortal venerable said, "To become an immortal, why must I beg the heavens? If the heavens won't grant it, I will take it myself. To follow the heavens is to be mortal. To defy the heavens is to be immortal. The path of immortality is to go against the principles of heaven and earth, too. Attain eternal life." Right after that, the book in Li Fan's hand suddenly fell. He was shocked. The way of cultivation in this world is completely different from what I expected. No wonder I felt something was strange ever since I came into contact with the cultivators of this world. The heavenly Tao of this world seems to hold great malice towards cultivators. Whether it's the rule that 2 immortal arts cannot be cultivated simultaneously, or the death of a cultivator illuminating the sky for thousands of miles like some bizarre broadcast, or the immortal mortal miasma that is extremely harmful to cultivators and the strange things inside mortals' bodies, they all point to this. Go against the principles of heaven and earth to attain eternal life. The content that followed in the book was the 5 spirits qi sensing method. If a mortal who has dispelled the miasma cannot draw qi into their body, They can nourish their own 5 spirits to forcibly absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, thereby refining it to break through to the chi refining stage. The so-called 5 spirits refer to the 5 innate emotions of a person: greed, fear, anger, hatred, and ego. These 5 emotions are hidden deep within a person's heart, inexhaustible and constantly regenerating. The 5 spirits chi sensing method uses these 5 spirits as fuel and motivation. It cultivates a root of heaven and earth within the dantian. The root of heaven and earth connects the cultivator's dantian to the world. Once formed, the cultivator can use it to forcibly absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. By transforming oneself, a person with excellent aptitude can form the root of heaven and earth in a single day and night, stepping onto the path of cultivation, and even a person with no aptitude for cultivation whatsoever can also forge their own root of heaven and earth within 15 days at most through diligent daily training. Just like that, day after day. 3 years passed. Li Fan still hadn't succeeded in chi induction. Although the 5 spirits chi sensing method requires using the 5 emotions as fuel to form the root of heaven and earth, I practice the heart refining incantation. My accumulation of these 5 emotions is extremely low. I've been at home for far too long. After a long period of stillness, he felt the urge to move and decided to go out for a walk. Just as he was strolling down the street, someone suddenly called out from behind, "Elder Li, Haoba spoke up. Elder Li, it's been too long." Li Fan recognized him. It was someone he hadn't seen in several years. "How have you been lately?" He scratched his head sheepishly. "Thanks to you, our fleet's profits these past few years have been quite good. Especially since your story always attracts a large number of young people who want to join the fleet. Our treatment and status on the island have improved quite a bit, but my brothers from the Merchant Guild and I are preparing to leave Glass Island." He sighed. If only things weren't getting so strange. Why the sudden thought of leaving? Haoba's expression turned serious. "To be honest with you, Elder Li, my brothers and I have been encountering a lot of strange things at sea lately. The last few times we've gone out to sea, we'd cast our nets and pull up thousands of pounds of fish. 9 out of 10 nets were filled to the brim just like that. And what's more, there were all kinds of fish, as if every creature from the deep was fleeing and gathering in one spot. My brothers and I have lived on this glass island since we were kids. We know the reefs around this island like the back of our hands, but lately we've noticed that more of them are exposed than ever before. The water level changes a bit every year, but the change this year is clearly abnormal. All the brothers are getting worried, and there's something else that worries us even more. For the past 3 years, there hasn't been a single storm, and not just in the seas around Glass Island, but in the entire Pine Cloud Sea." Li Fan stroked his beard, intrigued. "The storms have vanished," Haoba replied. "Ever since I was born, the storms have never ceased. In a busy year, we'd get over 50 of them. In a slow year, there'd still be 2 or 3. But now, it's been 3 years without a single one. Some people on the island are celebrating, saying it's a blessing from the Immortal Masters, but my brothers and I, we don't see it that way. This is too unnatural. Something big must be about to happen." He explained, "The island is protected by a great formation, and with Zheng Hao watching over it, you should be able to handle whatever comes." "Leaving your homeland is no small matter. You must think it through carefully," he replied. Haoba responded, "You're right, Elder Li. My brothers and I will give it more thought." A short time passed. Li Fan continued his cultivation. Time flew by, and another year passed. Finally, Yuzhen had accumulated enough power and triumphantly returned to Night Blue Island to reclaim her position as the general manager of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion headquarters. She had spent the last few years there stabilizing the situation, and so she sent a messenger to share the good news with him. Xiao Heng also frequently sent messengers to ask about Li Fan's recent progress. He was advancing at a divine speed. He had now reached the mid-chi refining stage. In the end, Zheng Haoba chose to leave the Pine Cloud Sea with some of his brothers from the Merchant Guild. As the world's affairs remained turbulent, he simply focused on his cultivation. On this day, a wisp of the world's spiritual energy followed the root of heaven and earth, slowly flowing into his dantian and quickly spreading throughout his body. In his 7th year in the world of cultivation, Li Fan finally broke through to the chi refining stage. The moment he stepped into the chi refining stage, Li Fan felt a tremendous change within himself. The spiritual energy in his body surged silently, transforming him from the inside out. His once slightly aged body began to reverse the years. The wrinkles on his face vanished. His skin became smooth and supple again. His physical body was immensely strengthened, and Li Fan could now command the spiritual energy of the world around him, molding it into various forms. After breaking through to the chi refining stage, his lifespan had reached its limit of 199 years. The system displayed name Li Fan. The 5 spirits sensing chi method had mentioned the lifespan of cultivators, while far exceeding that of mortals, was still severely suppressed compared to the primordial era. Next, he took the Heavenly Jade Ring Golden Chapter from within the Taiyan Pearl. Heavenly Jade Ring, Golden Chapter. A nascent soul realm cultivation technique. Current cultivators 0. Now that he had finally entered the chi refining stage, Li Fan was eager to learn its secrets. As he connected with the jade slip, countless words and images flooded into his mind like a tidal wave. It felt as if an immense amount of information was being forcibly crammed into his head. His temples throbbed, but thankfully Li Fan's spiritual sense was far stronger than that of a typical chi refining cultivator, and he quickly adapted. After a long while, he finally grasped the general idea. The Heavenly Jade Ring, Golden Chapter, was an ancient cultivation technique from the Heavenly Mystery Sect. The sect believed that all things in heaven and earth were sentient, just like people. They have their own thoughts, which are normally difficult to perceive, but it's just like when a person has killing intent. A murderous aura spreads. In the same way, all things in the universe emit various auras. When the heavens emit a killing aura, all living things wither. When the earth emits a killing aura, the seas churn and dragons rise. By capturing and refining these worldly auras, one can trace them back to their source and reach a state of unified resonance. The Heavenly Jade Ring Golden Chapter is a technique for sensing and refining these auras for your own use. Once mastered, not only can you borrow the world's killing aura to injure your enemies, you can also use these auras for divination. You can even predict the future. The will of the heavens is immeasurably vast. Even channeling a single sliver of its aura is hundreds of thousands of times more powerful than a cultivator. He thought to himself, this technique is incredibly powerful. But practicing it is also extremely dangerous. You must nurture your own killing aura, drawing upon the vibrant life force of spring, when all things flourish, and sensing the auras of spiritual items. Anything that comes into contact with me could be easily harmed by my own aura. In theory, this technique, Tish, when cultivated to its peak, allows one to merge with the universe and become an incarnation of the Tao itself. Unfortunately, in the 10,000-year history of the Heavenly Mystery Sect, the highest anyone ever reached was the nascent soul realm. With the authentic simulation to help me, I don't have to worry about the risks of practicing this technique. Still, I'm in no rush to decide on my primary technique. Now that I've successfully guided Qi into my body, I should go see what the 10,000 Immortals Island is like. Elsewhere, Zheng Hao spoke up. I just detected a fluctuation in the island's spiritual energy. I knew it had to be you breaking through. It took you long enough, but you finally did it. You've come to see me. I assume you want to go to the 10,000 Immortals Island. Li Fan replied, That's right. I have no more lingering attachments to the mortal world. I can leave at any time. He agreed, patting Li Fan's shoulder. Then follow me. Immediately, the two of them soared into the sky. Zheng Hao quickly channeled his spiritual power, and a massive barrier suddenly materialized in the heavens. He channeled his power into it and commanded it to open. The sky instantly ripped apart, splitting into two halves as a brilliant spiritual light shot straight upwards. And then it was as if the sun itself cracked in two, its core slowly being revealed. Witnessing this, Li Fan couldn't help but gasp in astonishment. What? The sun! It's cracking open! Zheng Hao grabbed his shoulder. Let's fly up. A moment later, they passed through a barrier together. Before them were stone statues of all sizes. Zheng Hao explained that this was the Dharma Transmission Plaza. It was built to commemorate the time the Immortal Venerable preached the Tao. Every outpost of our Myriad Immortals Alliance has a plaza like this. Flying is forbidden on Myriad Immortals Island, but remember your altitude cannot exceed the statue of the Immortal Venerable. Otherwise, you will definitely be attacked by the myriad immortals' grand formation, even if you're in the nascent soul realm. In an instant, your body would perish, and your Tao would scatter. Although flying isn't forbidden on the island, I advise you not to fly around recklessly if you don't have to. Heh. As they walked, Zheng Hao quietly instructed Li Fan on the important things to note on Myriad Immortals Island. He committed these life and death matters to heart. They passed through a corridor formed by interwoven vines. Li Fan arrived in a quiet, verdant forest. He explained that this mirror was their Myriad Immortals Alliance's heavenly profound mirror. In a clearing in the forest stood a giant ancient mirror. From time to time, cultivators would pass through the mirror to unknown destinations, while others would emerge from it and depart. Zheng Hao continued, I heard that long ago. Before the Immortal Venerable preached the Tao, this heavenly profound mirror was just an ordinary mirror. Later, when the Immortal Venerable taught the Tao, this mirror reflected his Dharma image and gave birth to a sliver of its own will. Afterwards, it learned from cultivators, evolving from a mortal object into the heaven and earth spirit treasure it is today. Most of the affairs for us cultivators in the Myriad Immortals Alliance are handled by this heavenly profound mirror. I hear this thing holds a grudge, so you'd better be careful. Don't speak nonsense again. The two of them entered the barrier and walked into the mirror. What greeted their eyes was a private space with no sign of other cultivators. It was as if they were in the void. All around them was emptiness and darkness. He introduced, this person is a new cultivator who has come to Myriad Immortals Island to join our Myriad Immortals Alliance. A mysterious voice rang out, recommending a cultivator in the early Chi refining stage, recorded as mid-level merit, exchanged for 50 contribution points. Current contribution points 920. Zheng Hao waved and left. Since you've arrived, young friend, then I can rest assured. If you have any questions, just ask the heavenly profound mirror. I still have duties guarding the island, so I won't stay any longer. Li Fan replied, many thanks, senior. Jin spoke spiritual sense, fluctuation recorded. Independent space has been generated. Cultivator, please state your name. He replied, Li Fan. The voice spoke up. Cultivator Li Fan, welcome to the Myriad Immortals Alliance. As a benefit, you will be gifted 20 contribution points. You can use contribution points to exchange for spirit stones, cultivation techniques, magic treasures, and so on. You can obtain contribution points by submitting resources, completing missions, or trading with others. Similarly, if you encounter a problem you cannot solve yourself, you can also spend contribution points to issue a bounty. Your current total contribution points are 20. As a new member of the Myriad Immortals Alliance, you may stay in the Heavenly Profound Mirror for free for 30 days. After 30 days, you will need to pay contribution points. Only then can you continue to reside here. The cost of residence is 10 contribution points for 30 days. Of course, you can also choose to spend contribution points to purchase your own Immortals abode on Myriad Immortals Island. Li Fan wondered, if I can no longer survive in the Myriad Immortals Alliance, can I choose to leave and join the Five Elders Council? Hearing his words, the voice also sank into deep thought. A mysterious whisper said, once you have joined the Myriad Immortals Alliance, you cannot join the Five Elders Council and vice versa. If you violate this rule, you will be hunted down by both sides. He was suspicious. I don't think I've agreed to join your Myriad Immortals Alliance yet, have I? The mysterious whisper replied, once you step into the Heavenly Profound Mirror and your spiritual sense is recorded, you are considered to have voluntarily joined the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Li Fan retorted, can I leave the Myriad Immortals Alliance then, and not join the Five Elders Council, choosing to be a lone cultivator instead? The mysterious whisper spoke, you may. If you choose to leave, all items ever obtained within the Myriad Immortals Alliance will be forcibly confiscated. Please choose carefully. Afterwards, he asked the Heavenly Profound Mirror, unfazed. Li Fan was satisfied. I have no more questions for now. The Heavenly Profound Mirror replied, very well. Cultivator, if you have new questions, you may call me at any time. You can also use your spiritual sense to look around on your own. According to what the Heavenly Profound Mirror said, the form of the space here could be manipulated with spiritual sense. Following the manipulation of his spiritual sense, the space transformed from a void into a sparsely decorated room. It was no different from his room in the Grand Preceptor's residence. The decorations and items in the room were almost identical, with no difference at all. Li Fan thought to himself, The heavenly profound mirror is truly an incredible treasure. Through the questions I just asked, I've gained a general understanding of this myriad Immortals alliance. Cultivation techniques, materials, and so on. I can exchange for those items just by opening the exchange list with my spiritual sense. The simplest chi refining stage technique still costs 1,000 contribution points. Opening the mission list. The rewards for an early chi refining cultivator are all 5 or 10 points. Cultivation really is a grind. You have a new message projection, please check it. Li Fan was puzzled and replied. After speaking, he was bewildered. He had just arrived on this myriad Immortals island. Why would someone be looking for him already? Xiao Hung appeared. Big Brother Li, you're finally here. Back on Glazed Island, I was under your care, Big Brother Li, and I never had a chance to repay you. I felt terrible for leaving without saying goodbye that day. Li Fan thought to himself, so it's Xiao Hung. He continued, in today's cultivation world, techniques are hard to come by. Newcomers often need 1 or 2 years to accumulate enough contribution points to exchange for a chi refining stage technique. That was the case for me. Fortunately, I've had several fortuitous encounters in my cultivation so far. I broke through to the late chi refining stage a year ago, and now I've reached the peak. I want to go to the Cloudwater Heavenly Palace ruins in the Central Cloud Sea. I'm searching for a heaven and earth treasure to achieve the foundation establishment stage. Such items are hard to find, so I must make this trip. It might take several years before I return. Myriad Immortals Island is located where the water chi of the Pine Cloud Sea is most abundant. Water attribute cultivation techniques are the easiest to cultivate and are quite powerful. Before I leave, I'm leaving a water attribute cultivation technique slip for you. Big Brother Li, cultivate well. It's best not to leave the island on your own before you break through to the mid-chi refining stage. When I get back, I'll definitely have a drink with Brother Li. Li Fan took the lesser water derivation art in his hand and smiled. This kid, his current cultivation realm is far beyond mine, yet he still remembers the kindness from back then. It seems his character is truly impeccable. The lesser water derivation art. Xiao Hung also gave me a copy of the Supreme Origin True Scripture. Guan Hong once said that cultivating this technique allows one to disperse their power at will without losing much of their cultivation base. I can cultivate the lesser water derivation art, first then find an excuse to leave Myriad Immortals Island before cultivating the Heavenly Jade Ring Vajra. However, the Profound Realm might not even notice a lowly chi refining stage cultivator like me, but it's never wrong to be cautious. While I still have free time in the Heavenly Profound Mirror, I'll cultivate the lesser water derivation art. This cultivation session, I've learned the benefits of cultivating in the Heavenly Profound Mirror. By spending contribution points, I can activate its cultivation assistance mode. In this mode, the concentration of spiritual energy in the Heavenly Profound Mirror increases several times over the outside world, almost comparable to a top-tier grotto heaven. At the same time, the mirror also grants the cultivator inside it a spirit awakening state. Under this state, one's comprehension increases, making cultivation techniques much easier to master. This super cultivation state? He almost gave Li Fan the illusion that he was a cultivation genius. It became a kind of indulgence, and he was completely immersed, unable to pull himself away. Only now did he emerge from that incredibly immersive cultivation state. The speed of cultivation in the assisted mode was over 30 times faster than Li Fan's normal cultivation. This stark difference made him feel an almost unbearable urge. He wanted to exchange for another day, but thinking about how he only had 10 contribution points left, he forced himself to resist. Li Fan secretly resolved this treasure should belong to me. Not yet. At least not yet. The Heavenly Profound Mirror is the ultimate treasure of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Its very foundation. It's not something I should be coveting. It's more practical to just earn contribution points. I understand now why the Heavenly Profound Mirror has this assisted cultivation function. Any cultivator who has experienced this super mode would find it hard to resist trying it again. Plus, given that you'd be wasting the same amount of time anyway, accumulating contribution points to activate the faster assisted cultivation is much better than burying your head in arduous training. This Myriad Immortals Alliance really has its cultivators in a death grip. Contribution points are a must, but compared to doing missions, exchanging for them is the most time and energy efficient way. If I take out the worldly treasure from the Supreme Deduction Pearl, the incomplete stele, I could probably exchange it for a lot of contribution points. After all, the stele will return after using Return to Truth. But while my cultivation base can be preserved, I still have to accept a mission to leave Myriad Immortals Island before I can take out the Supreme Deduction Pearl. Every inch of this island is probably within the surveillance range of the heavenly profound mirror. If I attract the attention of a powerful expert, I'll be in big trouble. However, I've heard that Return to Truth can turn the real into the illusory, but it still requires my consciousness to control it. What if a powerful expert directly attacks my divine sense, making me unable to even think? No matter what, caution is my #1 rule. Li Fan's eyes widened in surprise as he frowned. A mission related to the Glazed Treasure Dan Chamber commissioning someone to go to Glazed Island to retrieve at least 20 glazed pearls. The reward depends on the quality and quantity of the pearls. This mission is perfect for me since I can't reveal the Supreme Deduction Pearl. He spent 5 contribution points to buy the smallest storage ring as a cover, then spent another point to activate the teleportation array back to Glazed Island. Quickly send people to get me the glazed pearls. The more the better. Steward Qian replied, "As you command, Immortal Master." Arriving at the glazed residence, he met Steward Qian, who was in charge of finances. Steward Qian bowed and reported, "Immortal Master, there are only 23 glazed pearls left on the island right now. This is all that we on Glazed Island have been able to gather recently. If Immortal Master needs more, I'm afraid you'll have to wait another half a year to a year." Li Fan was surprised. "Oh, has something happened?" The steward replied respectfully, "I dare not hide it from you, Immortal Master, due to recent overfishing. The schools of glazed fish are getting smaller and smaller. I'm afraid we'll have to wait for them to recover naturally for a while before we can fish again." Li Fan took the bag of glazed pearls. "I understand." Returning to Tingyu Tower, I took out the Supreme Deduction Pearl. Then I finished moving the gold, silver, and the incomplete stele out of it. After finishing these things, I went to the Glazed Island's teleportation array, wanting to return directly to Myriad Immortals Island. He Junghao appeared out of nowhere. "Young friend, please wait."